Morning, what are we? We're at 53 degrees already in downtown Salt Lake City. Inside Source is next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary, who's funding a proposed data center in Box Elder County, is also facing pushback on his proposed data center in Alberta, Canada. O'Leary announced the project in late 2024, but the Deseret News is reporting the project stalled after people voiced concerns with potential environmental impact and how fast the project was taking shape. Shovels were set to go into the ground this year, but now it likely won't happen until 2028. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Diplomatic talks to end the war with Iran are not progressing. The president now saying the ceasefire is hanging on by a thread.
With the war in its 11th week and the Strait of Hormuz still virtually at a standstill, Americans are feeling the squeeze. Gas prices are up $1.55 since the war began, now hovering around $4.50 a gallon. And a new poll shows a majority of Americans, some 63%, say their household's personal financial situation has taken a hit from those rising prices at the pump. The president now considering suspending the federal gas tax, which could lower prices some 18 cents per gallon.
It's a small percentage, but it's still money.
But President Trump will need the help of Congress to do that.
ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reporting. Utah Congressman Blake Moore and Congresswoman Celeste Malloy say if the Trump administration wants to continue the war in Iran, Congress needs to sign off on it. Utah Senator John Curtis recently expressed similar sentiments.
We want the president to be able to cut off a threat before it becomes imminent. We want the president to have the ability to save American lives that may be taken hostage, and he has to use forces to do that. And we want Congress to declare war.
Moore says Moore told the KSL Deseret News editorial board he supports continued military action if it's done the right way. Your money at this moment, today's inflation report, stocks seem to be reacting to it, down 255 points to 49,448. Coming up, it's going to be another record-breaking scorcher today. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Dylan Gunther of the Utah Mammoth, and I drive a BMW. Performance matters to me, on the ice and on the road. That confidence lets me focus on what matters most, performance. That's why I trust BMW Utah for everything, from service to tires. They've always got my back. Between scoring goals and scoring the perfect ride, it's a tough call, but scoring is what I do. And the win? Driving a BMW from BMW Utah. When I came to Utah, everyone talked about the greatest snow on earth. But during the 2002 Olympics, the world saw something else. This place also has the best ice on earth. Since moving here, I've done my best to own that ice and live up to that standard. It's about preparation, precision, and trusting what's beneath you every single day. That same mindset is why I chose BMW Utah, because great performance doesn't happen by accident. It's built, maintained, and earned. And I'm proud to work with a local dealer that represents Utah at that same elite level. Proud to be a Utahn, proud to support BMW Utah. Drive elevated.
You deserve a home that's truly your sanctuary. Why are you waiting? Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen helps turn someday into today. A space that works and feels like you. Because design and build live under one roof, your remodel experience stays organized. From the first discovery consultation to the final walkthrough, with one team from start to finish. You deserve a home that you can truly be happy in. And that's possible right now. A clear, structured timeline keeps guesswork out of your kitchen or bath project, and it starts with your budget and a fixed price. Then the detailed plan begins with smart and stylish selections, so you know exactly what to expect. Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen is built on integrity and customer focus, and that shows up in the little things, clean job sites, and proactive updates that keep you fully in the loop. Back nationally and 3 locally owned Wasatch Front locations. Schedule a consultation at dreammaker-remodel.com. That's dreammaker-remodel.com. Enhancing lives, improving homes. dreammaker-remodel.com.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Looks like a new crash in Utah County, Cormac?
Yeah, that's right. On northbound I-15, just after Timpanogos Highway, this crash was blocking a couple of right lanes at the end of that on-ramp. But now they are just out of traffic and in that right shoulder. We are seeing some heavier delays, though, reaching back toward 2100 North. Also, northbound I-15 slow in Utah County approaching Pleasant Grove Boulevard. Northbound I-15 in Salt Lake County seeing the normal of its delays trying to ease out. It's still slow from Midvale up to the South Interchange and again from 3300 South up to 13th South. Eastbound on the 201 freeway, though, that's heavier as you approach Bangerter Highway, reaching all the way over to I-15. With Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and water treatment needs, call 974-9090 or visit SuperiorWaterandAir.com. Superior Water and Air, we got this. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast for today will be hitting record high heat. Highs in the 90s, reaching potentially 93 degrees. It won't last forever. Temperatures will drop later this week. Sunday's high is only 66. Right now it's 70 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Yesterday when I got in my car in the afternoon.
And the
it
flames
was really
went
hot.
higher.
It was in the 90s, I think, and it's apparently going to get into the 90s again today. And you know what? It's only mid-May.
I know, and I'm a little nervous for the next few months, maybe a lot nervous. So we have with us in studio Matt Johnson, KSL meteorologist. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild weather, it feels like, right? No real winter to speak of, no real snow, and now we're seeing temperatures in the 90s, and we're not even to the middle of May. We're still in the early half of May. What's happening?
Right. That's a great question, and it seems to be a trend this year. Everything's coming earlier. We had our first major heat wave in March. Has it happened before? Yeah. But, to the magnitude that we saw, that was pretty unprecedented. And so it's a growing trend as we, continue to see the climate change. And I've talked about this before. I usually don't get into the politics of it all, but if you live here long enough or anywhere in the U.S. over 20 years, you've seen less snow, less cold, more rain events, more heat events, and so that's kind of the byproduct of that's kind of what we're seeing as we see this shift. But yeah, it's wild weather for sure, whiplash weather.
What are the models telling us for the upcoming months? Just like May and June, do we know if this is supposed to be a particularly warm summer? Are we ever going to get? We did get some rain, Matt. It's been a little bit nice that way, but we're in a real trouble with our water situation right now.
Yeah, the long-range models do point towards warmer than normal conditions. However, we're picking up on a signal come midsummer to late summer that is suggesting that we could see a monsoon pick up and really produce in the desert Southwest. Now, I will say, full disclosure, last year was the very same deal. They said, hey, models are coming out, and we've got a strong signal for a robust season of monsoon moisture, and it didn't really pan out. Now this year, confidence running a little bit higher than last year, if you can believe it or not, because we've got a developing El Nino. Sometimes a developing El Nino, especially a super El Nino, can actually draw in more tropical moisture from early season tropical disturbances that kind of crawl up the Baja of California, and then they get drawn into the that southerly monsoon flow. So, it's long range forecasting. Anything after 2 weeks is quite hard to hang your hat on, but we can kind of ballpark it, right? Hey, seeing a signal for this, let's watch it as we get closer. If that continues to strengthen, we're going to buy into it. So right now, the long range ballpark is for a monsoon to produce, and we're really we're hoping. We can't, it's not fact just yet, but my goodness, it would be good for us.
So you mentioned El Nino and a super El Nino. Can you just help us understand what that is? And I know there's a La Nina as well. So help us understand what those weather patterns are.
Right. So a little crash course is in the equatorial Pacific off the coast of South America. You get the trade winds, and they usually blow from east to west. The stronger they blow, the cooler the water you get actually coming up from the deep sea. And so that will cause a La Nina. When those trade winds are strong, deep sea upwelling brings in cooler deep ocean. And so on the surface, we measure those temperatures. And if they're cooler than normal, La Nina. If they're warmer than normal, trade winds relax, we get warm temps. We have found a correlation between what's happening down there in the equatorial Pacific and those sea surface temperatures and the response globally. So here in Utah and the West Coast, we usually associate El Nino with a more active but warmer kind of subtropical feel to winter. Now, other parts of the world and nation receive different responses. It's drought in one area, it's wet in one area. On average, the globe's warmer than normal. And here in Utah, we don't really have any strong signal responses between what's happening in the equatorial Pacific and what will happen during our summer, fall, and winter. But we have seen a loose correlation between a strong El Nino and what can happen here as far as weather's concerned, fall, winter, and spring.
So is a super El Nino a strong El Nino?
It is a stronger El Nino. Basically, when the sea surface temperature down there is at least 2 to 3 degrees centigrade warmer than normal. So they're going off the anomaly. Compared to normal, how warm or cool is the water? And, we're talking about maybe 4 degrees centigrade or maybe even 5 above normal.
What's the timing of this El Nino? Is it something that we expect this summer, or is
Yes.
it something that's happening very soon?
Yep. We are transitioning into it right now. And so we're starting to see that El Nino develop, which means the warmer water's really starting to show up, and then we're going to start to see a response globally to that signal. And usually here in the summer months, it can mean, warmer temperatures, but it also means that we could see more of a tropical influence come time for
We could see some moisture.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So just a really quick question. I did see a thing in the Washington Post that talked about a super El Nino from 1877 and that it was catastrophic with drought and starvation. Is that something we should anticipate, that it's going to be a really bad year for crops?
Yeah, I think that as far as the leadership's concerned for emergency preparedness and whatnot, definitely have it on your radar. But there was a lot of things in that 1877 report that there was a lot of actions by colonists and whatnot that kind of led to how severe that was. But that's not to take away to the potential of severity of this event, because we count on a wetter winter, usually on a strong El Nino year. We bank on that. 3 of the last 4 have been fruitful for us as far as snowpack's concerned in the state of Utah. Now, that doesn't guarantee that this year is going to do that. Basically, the takeaway message from that article I think that we should consider is that El Nino brings a lot of mixing up to the atmosphere. It really mixes up climatological norms globally. And so we anticipate one thing, But what we can count on is some extremes to play out throughout the globe. Which one are we going to get here is the question. And so I'd say be on your toes, be ready for anything. It could play out for the better for us. It could be really wet, or it could be, quite honestly, even though the data points against this, it could be really dry. But it's, welcome to my world where I'm supposed to tell you the future, but the reality is we can only go off of probabilities that even then aren't factual.
Well, you're pretty good at it, Matt. So that was Matt Johnson, KSL meteorologist in the studio. Thanks for joining us. So when we come back on Inside Sources, inflation is now higher than it's been in close to 3 years, and economists say it's largely because of the war in Iran, of course. What it says about the state of our economy when we come back.
There's no doubt about it. This is the time of year when we all start focusing on that perfectly grilled steak. Now, some of us are pretty good. Some of us are just okay at doing that ourselves in the backyard. If you're really looking for that perfection in steaks, it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And now with Memorial Day just around the corner, a lot of graduation parties are going on, special events, birthdays, you name it. It's time for you to make that reservation at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Now, obviously, we talk about steaks and how wonderful they are there, but they have so much more. The seafood, the poultry dishes, the side dishes, the desserts, and it's served to perfection. We have 2 locations. There's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Hotel Park City, and also Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple. It's the perfect steak, and it's waiting for you now at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Social Security is changing, and those changes could affect your finances. Some retirees are seeing bigger checks. But did you know higher benefits could also mean higher taxes? And if you don't have a plan, you could end up paying more than you might expect. That's where Mike Stevens comes in. Social Security is an important part of your retirement, but making simple mistakes like claiming benefits at the wrong time could cost you your hard-earned money. Mike Stevens and the team at Capital Wealth can show you ways to get more out of your benefits and keep more of your money. Call 801-210-5500 now to set up your Social Security analysis. Don't put this off. Every decision you make about Social Security matters. Call 801-210-5500 today. That's 801-210-5500. Don't miss this chance to build a better plan for your retirement. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm does not offer tax advice.
Hyundai gives you America's best warranty on every new vehicle. It includes a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, plus 24/7 roadside assistance. That's peace of mind from Hyundai. And these days, that's priceless.
Now, get the Hyundai Tucson for 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days. Visit your local Hyundai dealer. Offers end June 1st. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness,
The ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
a place where survival
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain. In 2011, an Australian hiker vanished.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
The mountains have decided to keep him.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
Inflation is up. That's probably not too surprising, but new data out just this morning shows that inflation is at the highest rate in 3 years.
And of course, the cause, most likely, is the war in Iran.
It poses some interesting challenges for the Federal Reserve, especially as a transition of power is about to occur there.
Well, let's get an expert to help us understand what's going on with this and other parts of the economy. Professor Jason Cotter, Assistant Professor of Finance at Marriott Business School at Brigham Young University, is on the line with us. Professor Cotter, thanks for joining us.
You bet.
So tell us a little bit what we're seeing from the numbers out this morning.
Well, as you mentioned, inflation is very high, the highest it's been in 3 years. That's mostly driven by energy and gas prices, which is, of course, a consequence of the Iran war.
Was this expected then because of the war, that maybe these numbers aren't as upsetting as they probably could have been?
Yeah, in some sense, they're not as upsetting as they could have been. It was expected that inflation would be high, but there are some signs that prices are going up even outside of gas and oil, which is a bit more concerning.
So I'm wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. So you've got gas and oil. Are we also talking like grocery prices? What else are you seeing?
Yeah, we're seeing some increase in grocery prices, transportation costs, which then affects things like clothing as well. So, as gas gets more expensive, the cost of transporting things gets expensive, and then that raises prices for all kinds of things.
We saw recently in two occasions where the Supreme Court has struck down the president's attempts at tariffs, and right now that's the state of the tariff situation. Do you think that will help this situation as these tariffs are lessened or done away with?
I think if tariffs actually are lessened, it will help a bit. It's pretty uncertain whether that will happen, but it's something we should certainly watch for.
So one of the articles that I saw today, and I can't remember exactly which news source, but it's saying that economists are starting to see the inflation dynamics very similar to those of the late 1970s, and they're quite worried about that. Is that something you're familiar with or that you have seen as a trend?
Yeah, so the late 70s is a period what we call stagflation, which is the economy really slows down at the same time that inflation is getting really high. We're nowhere near that right now, but there are some signs that are a bit concerning. Labor markets have gotten a bit weak. Inflation is getting higher and higher. And to the extent that trend continues, we could be in a pretty scary spot for the economy. It makes it very difficult for an upcoming Fed chair. The administration, of course, is pushing for lower interest rates, but high inflation makes it hard to do that, which makes it hard to stimulate the labor market.
Professor Cotter, a 3.8% annual inflation rate is higher than what we would want, but it's certainly not, I guess, just because I've been around a bit, high. I mean, it's not sort of the really frightening numbers we've had in the past. Does that give us a little bit of solace that maybe this is just a blip because of the war and a few other things going on?
It does give us a bit of solace. I think the question is, how long does the war go on? So, 3.8% overall isn't horrible, but gas prices were up about 28% year over year. And so to the extent that we continue to have conflict in the Middle East, these gas prices could then translate into higher prices throughout the whole economy, and then that 3.8% could go way up from there.
So one of the numbers that I saw this morning is that wages have risen 3.6%, but this inflation at 3.8% just really takes that away. Is that something that you see as a concerning trend?
Yeah, and it's part of what contributes to the weakness overall in the economy is that real wages are basically staying stagnant. That is, wage growth is about the same as inflation, and so people aren't able to buy any more than they were able to buy a year ago. it's hard for an economy to grow if wages aren't growing faster than inflation.
I'm looking at the financial markets, and they continue to be pretty strong. I mean, they've been higher than they are now, but they're certainly not really dropping significantly. What does that tell us?
I think the financial markets, something like the stock market, is telling us that investors more or less think the economy is going to be okay. One way of reading that is to say that investors seem to think that the conflict in the Middle East is temporary, that we'll move past it, that oil prices will come back down, and that the economy will continue at a stable path. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty around that. I don't think anyone right now really knows how long that conflict might last.
Do you see any changes with respect to what the Fed's going to do, in as much as the Fed is sort of having a transition of power? Do you think that's going to make much difference in the next couple of years?
I think it has the potential to make a difference. A new chair will bring a new perspective to the Fed. But one thing to keep in mind is that the interest rate decisions are made by committee. The new chair will be one vote out of 12 votes. And so he by himself can't change the overall course that the Fed is looking to go on. I think that committee will make their decisions based on the economic conditions. To the extent that inflation continues to be a problem, I think the committee will be hesitant to lower interest rates. And so we'll probably continue on the kind of policy that we're on right now. At least that would be my expectation.
So, Professor Cotter, you teach finance, and I'm wondering if you have advice for just like regular people in the economy. Like, what should we anticipate? What should we prepare for as regular, just everyday people?
Well, I think the number one thing to prepare for is a little bit lower returns over the next while. The economy is at a point that's a little bit weaker, and so there's a lot of uncertainty around what that will do to stock returns and other investment opportunities. Over the long run, say retirement savings, the right thing to do is just keep saving in a long-term diversified index portfolio. Over the short run, you can expect there to be a little more volatility, and to prepare yourself for that.
We often have guests on our show talking about housing and buying and selling homes. And, of course, interest rates are big on everybody's mind right now. Those have gone up a little bit lately. Do we see or anticipate in the next year, maybe we should get a little closer, 6 months, that there could be a drop in interest rates?
There certainly could be a drop in interest rates over the next 6 months to a year, but this latest inflation report does make that a little less likely. So if we look at the derivative markets, where we can sort of predict interest rate changes, those markets are suggesting we're likely to keep interest rates the same through the end of the year, and we're more likely to actually raise interest rates a little bit than to lower interest rates. So thinking of mortgage rates, I think the best prediction would be mortgage rates are likely to stay pretty similar for the next 6 months to a year, maybe even go up a little bit. Probably they aren't going to fall very much.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Professor Jason Cotter. He's the assistant professor of finance at the Marriott School of Business down at BYU. So just interesting. Not surprising, as you mentioned, that we're seeing ongoing inflation like we feel it at the pump, right? I mean, I heard the news story just in one of our breaks saying that gas has gone up over $1.50 a gallon since the war began in Iran.
Yeah, and you look at a 3.8% inflation rate and think, oh, that's bad, but it's the worst that it's been in 3 years. I mean, it was May of 2023 when we were at this level before, so it's not like the worst we've had in 30 years or something like that. And I know, inflation is a problem. It really is. We try to keep it around 2%, I think, in this country. 3.8 is almost double that, but it's not the kind of numbers we've had in the past of 6-8%.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, it was the Washington Post that had the article about concern about the 1970s. And one of the things that mentioned and that our guest talked about a little bit is it wasn't the first period of inflation. It wasn't the initial surge. It was the failure to prevent the second surge. So we had a big spike in inflation under the Biden administration, and it's never really come down. in the way that they were hoping to. So, of course, we are going to keep an eye on that.
Right.
Okay, so next, we're going to talk about President Trump going to China. So the president hopes the visit could pressure Iran to make concessions and end the current war. He certainly has it hanging by a thread. We know that. And President Xi feels like he's in a pretty good position. So we're going to talk about all of those things when we come back after this break.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A former West Valley City police officer has resigned from his new position in Oregon after body cam footage of him reportedly making racially insensitive comments surfaced. Martin Siller retired from the police department here in Utah about 7 years ago after a 20-year career. He was on the clock at the time, and investigators in Oregon believe he was on the phone with some of his old co-workers at the West Valley City Police Department when the comments were made. The footage is dated to earlier this year. The Eugene Police Chief says they will continue to review its policies, training, supervision, and culture to make sure this kind of conduct is not tolerated. Ogden City Fire was able to save some lucky ducks. Literally, 6 ducklings fell into the storm drain in front of Ben Lomond High School. But the school says the firefighters and its resource officers acted fast and saved all of the 6. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The investigation into the 6 bodies found inside a sweltering railroad boxcar in South Texas has just gotten wider.
6 people thought to be undocumented immigrants were found dead Sunday in a rail car in Laredo. 150 miles away, the body of a man was discovered alongside a railroad track in San Antonio Monday. And Sheriff Javier Salazar says there's a connection.
Our belief at this point is that it was most likely smugglers, coyotes that opened it from the outside, discovered this body, and dumped it out.
They then closed the rail car again, leaving the 6 other migrants to die inside. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Your money at this moment, the Dow down 226 points today to 49,463. Coming up, we still got some slowdowns in Utah County on the roadways and a scorching hot day in store for you. Traffic and weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I got to the point a couple of months ago where my pants were just a little bit too tight. My belt didn't fit the way it should, and I couldn't even get in some of my suits. And I thought, I need to do something about this. I had never been on a diet. I've never thought that I needed to, but I kind of did, and decided I needed to look into some things. I did quite a bit of research. I didn't want to take pills. I didn't want to take injections. I learned about SOTA, S-O-T-A, diet and nutrition, based solely on diet and nutrition. They gave me a coach, and they gave me a food plan. They gave me a program. I've been on the program for almost exactly a month now. I lost 21 pounds. Not quite where I need to be, but much, much closer than I expected, especially at this short of time. I thought maybe they promised something like 1 or 2 pounds a week. I've been well above that, and I think I'll continue to do that. This is a program that I intend to stay with for a while, maybe for the rest of my life, because SOTA has a motto that says this: join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. SOTA Diet Nutrition, S-O-T-A.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit NPSstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. NPSstore.com.
We're living through a monetary crime scene, and your IRA or 401k is a key victim. Hi, Dr. Ron Paul here. In 1971, gold was $35 an ounce. After the dollar was cut loose from it, inflation soared, and in just 9 years, gold hit $850. People who diversified into precious metals survived and thrived. Today, we're in a worse position because we face inflation and massive debt. Fortunately, gold is still an option. My trusted friends at Birch Gold Group can help you own gold inside your retirement account without penalties or taxes. Start now by getting a free info kit on gold. Text the word SECURE to 989898. We're facing the same monetary chaos as the 70s with significantly more debt. Get your free info kit from Birch Gold. Just text SECURE to the number 989898.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Here's Cormac Bone.
Right now, our worst delays are northbound I-15 at Timpanogos Highway. That crash still affecting drivers. They are blocking that right lane and shoulder and adding to those delays. We're also seeing some normal slowdowns on northbound I-15 just after 3300 south. Eastbound on the 201 freeway, a little heavier as you approach I-15. Those are residual delays. There was a crash transitioning from eastbound 201 to go southbound on I-15. They have since cleared that off the road as well, but those residual delays still there as you try to get onto I-15. With nutrients blended for greener, healthier turf in our local soil, IFA's 4+ Lawn Care program is the ultimate lawn owner power move. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. Today we're getting record high heat. Highs are going to be in the 90s, as hot as 93 degrees. It won't last forever. Temperatures drop later this week. Sunday's high is only 66 degrees. Right now it's 73 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, President Trump is heading to China today for talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and there are a lot of things to talk about, Holly, that will be on their agenda, not the least of which are Taiwan, what's happening there, artificial intelligence, and the race we're having between our two countries, nuclear weapons. China is certainly gearing up in that respect, and of course, the war in Iran, because China gets a lot of its oil from the Strait of Hormuz.
It's also an interesting position, I think, for the two leaders to meet, because it seems like the war in Iran isn't going according to plan, and I think President Xi feels a little maybe emboldened or empowered, right, to push back a little bit more against President Trump.
And he could probably set an agenda for the two countries. I mean, I think that he's in a unique position to try, I hate to use the word mediation, but try to put together some proposal and say, hey, let's try to work this out, because China certainly has a lot at stake, too, with what goes through that strait.
Yeah, they do. And they have met before. They met in October, if you remember, in South Korea. They agreed to put a pause on the trade war where the U.S. was trying to impose 125%, I think, tariffs on Chinese goods. And then Beijing was like, okay, well, fine, then we're not going to send any rare earth minerals your way. So at least for that, they've put a pause on that. But that's part of the conversation that they're going to have as well, is these critical minerals.
You made a good point that I hadn't realized until I just saw this, but Beijing is the biggest buyer of Islamic Republic's crude oil.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they get so much of theirs, and I think that they're buying from Russia right now. They're certainly getting their oil from some source, but this is something that's huge for them, and they have a very big interest in trying to get this thing worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's an international visit. The president went, I think, and visited in 2017 during his first administration. But do you remember, like, way back in the day, because we're old, when Nixon went to China, it was like groundbreaking, right? To have any kind of a conversation, let alone a visit from an American leader over to China. And now I would say we're not really allies, but we're trying not to be enemies.
And China is certainly a big player right now.
We're competitors,
right?
Let's say that.
And, some people think they're ahead of us in some respects.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They're certainly with us more than any other country right now, and you cannot ignore China like we have 20 or 30 years ago. I think Taiwan's got to be an interesting issue there too, because it's a country that gets a lot of support from the United States, militarily and otherwise, and it's something that China thinks it's their own territory. So it could be another. Yeah. It could be another Ukraine. It could be something where China decides, you know what, we've had enough.
So Senator John Curtis from Utah is a very big proponent of Taiwanese independence. I mean, he just had a bill that or a letter, I guess, that he just sent to President Trump along with other lawmakers saying, hey, we think that Taiwan should be able to buy their own weapons. And I will say this, he wears this as a badge of honor. There's an arrest warrant out for his arrest if he ever steps foot into China. So he counts that as a badge of honor.
Well, he probably won't be going there anytime soon.
So as the president goes, he's taking some people with him. He's taking Elon Musk. He's taking Tim Cook, both top executives. I saw this morning in the news somewhere Hegseth is going with him as well. And that the president will make decisions on Taiwan based on his visit with the president of China.
Interesting that he's taking Musk, because we are hearing more and more about the electric cars that they're building in China and the range that they're having and the batteries that they're producing. We don't have them here in the United States. For some reason, there's some block on those, but the other countries are getting those, and that may be the future of electric cars. I mean, Musk has to go and learn as much as he can as well, because we can't let China get ahead of us there. And if they do, at what point do we invite that market into our country?
Yeah, you mentioned like AI and robotics, and I've seen several news stories and opinion pieces saying basically they're far enough ahead of us in robotics, we're going to have a hard time keeping up. So it was a humanoid robot that won, I think it was a marathon, right?
Yeah.
And that they're working on developing robots that can be soldiers, and there's just a variety of things that China has done with robotics that we're kind of behind the 8 ball on.
Yeah, and in some respects, we're ahead of China in certain parts of the AI race, but we're behind in others. And to the extent, I mean, I know this is impossible and maybe just a pipe dream, but if these two countries got together on AI, they could solve a lot of the world's problems, I think, instead of being competitive. But I mean, that's just the state of the world right now. That we have chips that they can't get. They have precious minerals that we can't get. There's got to be some way to work some of this stuff out. They really want our access to these computer chips.
Yeah, I think one of the things too that I expect to hear from this is any kind of discussion about the Strait of Hormuz, if there's anything there. I expect maybe not to hear about prisoner exchange. There is a pro-democracy activist who's in prison. He was hoping that President Trump, it's Jimmy Lai, he was hoping that President Trump would help him get out of prison. So far, that hasn't happened. But, one of the things that seems to not be talked about is the treatment of the Uyghurs in China. So they're a predominantly Muslim group, and the United States, under the previous administration, said that there was a genocide going on in China, but we just kind of don't talk about that.
And we had thought when the tariffs were being proposed 6 or 8 months ago, at least the Trump administration felt like those would bring China to their knees. And President Xi hasn't seemed to been at the point where, hey, we need to sit down with the United States.
I think he kind of punched back, right? And said, okay,
right.
Well, we know that we have stuff that you want, that you need, these critical minerals, right? And so we know in Utah, we've talked about, we've got a large number of critical minerals available here for mining potentially, right? But right now we are very, very dependent on China for critical minerals. I will also say we're also very dependent on China for generic medications. That was something that we realized during the global pandemic of 2020, is that we're really reliant. So in any case, it's a trip that's coming up. I think it's Thursday when the president will head over there with his entourage. And then I'm looking forward to see what they release publicly.
Yeah, and I think he's flying out today or tomorrow, but the big talks are Thursday, and we're actually going to cover that on Thursday and spend some time chatting with the Asian policy expert.
An expert, yeah.
Get their take on what it could mean for the state of the world and the average American. I mean, I don't know when Trump's leaving. I see some people saying he's flying today, some people saying there's a big meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, I forget. You actually have to fly before you have a meeting.
It may be Wednesday right now in China for all we know. But anyway, when we come back on Inside Sources, a lot of schools around the country have pulled back on recess over the last few decades, but the nation's leading pediatrician groups say We need to put an end to that, reverse that. Why is recess necessary for kids to perform well? We'll find out after the break.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother, a pendant from years gone by. Pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues.
Hey, Utah! Ready to bring the hot tub and swim spa life home? The Utah Hot Tub and Swim Expo is coming to the west parking lot of the Shops at Southtown, right next to I-15. May 8th through May 16th, Utah's biggest hot tub brands are going head-to-head. Bullfrog Spas versus Arctic Spas, competing hard to end up in your backyard. See and test dozens of Utah's best hot tubs and swim spas on display. Save thousands with massive expo-only discounts. Plus, enjoy local service and fast delivery. No out-of-state hassle. Whether you want relaxing hydrotherapy after a long day or a full workout swim spa in your backyard, this is your chance to upgrade for less. Don't miss it. Free to attend. Head to the west parking lot of the Shops at Southtown, May 8th through May 16th. Call or visit GoHotTubbing.com for details and hours. GoHotTubbing.com, Utah's Hot Tub and Swim Spa Expo, where the best brands battle for your backyard bliss.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, adults in our society usually just go, 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 and that hustle and bustle affects kids, many of whom also find themselves in a go, go, go environment, and that affects things like recess.
It does. And you know what's interesting is there has been a move away from recess. And I think part of that is looking at test scores. Well, if we have to teach XYZ and we've got to meet these metrics, then the one thing to go is recess. So now the American Academy of Pediatrics actually has weighed in and they're updating their guidance on recess.
Yeah, and they're talking about what it does in terms of learning. That is to say, if you are in a learning environment, you do need to take a break every once in a while. You do need to just get out, step outside, whether it's recess or whatever it is. You can't just go from first period to second period to whatever and just keep going on and on and on. And they found that people will do better if they have a breakup, a little bit of some sort of a break in the middle of or during their day when they're trying to learn, when you're trying to, especially at that young age.
So we've talked about this before on the show, but I think, well, both in context of adults, but also with kids as well, we need time in nature, right? We need time outside. They call it free play or unstructured play, right? And it's not just for kids, but definitely in these younger grades, when you're talking about like K through 6, these kids need time outside. And there's a couple of things that it does. I think there's a brain reset. I think there's the opportunity first of all, for them to use their muscles and their bodies, but it also helps decrease stress hormones. And believe it or not, these little kids are feeling stress and their cortisol levels are going up, and then that impacts learning in negative ways.
They've also found that it's counterproductive to punish kids who are not paying attention or not doing a good job by saying, "Hey, you can't go to recess." Those are the kids that probably need it more than anyone else.
Oh yeah.
So punishing someone who's having some disciplinary or other problems by saying you can't attend recess isn't going to make their situation better. They're the ones that ought to be outside enjoying the fresh air, and maybe that will help them more than not attending recess.
One of the things that has happened nationally since the mid-2000s is that 40% of school districts have reduced or eliminated recess. And of course, the duration varies for the ones who still have it from less than 10 minutes to more than an hour a day. So less than 10 minutes a day, not per recess period. That's just like barely going outside and coming back in.
Yeah, and what we're learning also from these pediatric groups is that it's really not just for grade schools. It's grade school age kids. It's really for people of at least all learning grades, K-12. They need to have some sort of break.
Well, the higher grades don't have those. You can walk in between class.
You have gym class or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
There are things
it's
you
not
can
really
do.
counting as recess. I don't think.
I know, but at least you're running around outside.
So look, there are other countries, and I've seen pictures, but I've also seen stories about, especially Scandinavian countries, how much time they spend outside. I have a friend who had young kids in Norway, and she said, they started from the time they're babies, actually, they wrap their kids up and stick them outside, and they get used to the outside weather. And when they're little, they're outside, run around in snow and sub-zero temperatures, and they're getting multiple breaks. In fact, Denmark and Japan and the UK, they get a break every 45 to 50 minutes of classroom instruction. We don't have that here.
No. And, something else that I think people need to think about is that in today's environment with where we are in this country, 1 in 5 school-age kids is obese.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we have a lot of food. We have a lot of this is the land of plenty, and kids are taking advantage of that, as you might expect. But to their fitness. That doesn't help them later on in life, and so getting outside, having some level of physical activity will hopefully get that number to come down.
I wonder if that will be impacted by President Trump bringing back the presidential fitness test.
Yeah, he talked about that
thing
just the other day.
Yeah, in the White House. And remember, we've talked about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I think there can be, I don't know, body shaming starting at really early ages. I remember having to do that when I was in elementary school and doing the rope climb and trying to touch the, I could not do that, right?
Yeah.
But can you do sit-ups? Can you do push-ups? Can you do pull-ups, right? I wonder if there might be just a revisiting and really of we need kids to have unstructured time too. They spend so much of their time focused, I think, on being able to do well on tests. And it's like, you know what? Some of them learn best by moving around and jumping around. I mean, that's one of the great things.
Well, there's also the social part of it. And,
Oh, yeah.
And recess has tremendous value there, too, for kids that maybe have some behavioral issues or other things that they getting out, interacting with other kids in ways that you can't if you're sitting in a classroom, even if it's just running with them or, competing against them, throwing a ball or something like that, working together as a team, working together as a group, competing at something like that at a high level, playing soccer or whatever is something that helps kids adapt to other kids better than they do sitting in a classroom not being able to communicate very much.
I'll tell you a fun fact about going to school in a different country. So I've told you that I was in France in my early teens, and we went to school 6 days a week. We went from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday we went a half a day. And we had an hour-long lunch break every day. So you had an hour, and then there were other times, and I was junior high age, but like just think an hour for lunch. So it was unstructured time, and I will tell you the food was amazing.
Really?
Oh my gosh, so good. Think about French food and the reputation it has. Well, school lunch in France was amazing.
So what did lunch include, though, because you didn't need an hour to eat? Outside activity, you go run around?
Outside, you could go hang out with your friends. But yeah, you could have, the lunch was unrushed. You didn't have to hurry through and say, oh my God, I shovel it in because I only have 10 minutes or whatever it is.
Right.
And then you had all this extra time. You could work on homework, but I don't know anybody who ever did. We just sat around in little groups and talked. And I will tell you, this was in the late 70s, so a long time ago. But there were friends who would smoke on junior high school grounds. Like, I never did that, of course, and they knew early on that I didn't smoke. But it was a thing where even the young teens were smoking. You could go take a smoke break on the school grounds.
In France, they seem to tolerate that?
Well, they did. It's a lot different now,
Yeah.
right? But that was back in the era where, like, smoking is cool and everybody did it, and they did for real. They really, really did.
What an interesting life you've led.
I know. It is really interesting, and it gives me a lot of perspective in a lot of different ways. But look, I think recess is important, and I think that there are, as you've already mentioned, that there are lifelong benefits for getting out and, running around, literally. Like when I see kids on the playground, so much of the time is unstructured. So PE, it's structured. You've got to play a game. Sometimes they'll do pickup games at recess, and they'll do Foursquare, or they'll do jump rope or whatever, or they'll climb on whatever the playground equipment is. And sometimes they're with their friends, and sometimes it's, they're going to do a little race, and maybe they're hanging out with the first graders. And I mean, it's just, there's some fun things that happen at recess.
Or just walking around in the air.
Yeah.
Just getting that part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
I watch kids at recess when I'm driving around, and you can hear the laughter,
Yeah.
you can hear the noise and the screams and whatever. It's just,
Yeah, exactly.
It's a cool thing. I wonder if our school boards, our school districts, and our school leaders will look at this study and maybe put some things in place for the schools here in Utah or where we are. I hadn't realized, I guess, until I read this study, that we have had a history of cutting back on recess because of thinking that would increase academic performance. But I'm wondering if we're going to take a look at that. In response to this, it seems like this is something that our schools should take a real close look at.
We've had a legislator who she's really been looking at expanding lunchtime because of this rushed nature of, coming in, grab your food, hurry and eat, and then you got to get into the classroom because we have such a constricted amount of time. And I don't want to name a name because I might get it wrong, but I know that there are people who are concerned that we have shrunk recess and lunch times to be able to get more time
Hours,
outside and more time for kids to be able to eat and be healthy. Like snarfing food down or saying, look, I don't have time to eat, and so it's just going to go in the trash. That's not helpful either.
Right.
Okay, when we come back, we have Utahns in Congress, and we've talked about the war in Iran. Well, both Blake Moore and Celeste Malloy, and Senator Curtis, by the way, say congressional action is needed if we're going past the 60 days, which we're already past that by quite a bit. But we're going to talk about that when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, the body of a missing man has been recovered in the Grand Canyon. The National Park Service says it was near the Verkamps Visitors Center on the south rim of the park. He has been identified as 26-year-old Sandarsh Krishna, who went missing on April 28th. The death is currently under investigation. The National Association of Home Builders says 4 of every 5 homes sold in the Mountain West are part of an HOA, and that keeps Utah's brand new Office of Homeowners Association Ombudsman Erin Ryder busy.
One of the biggest issues that we face is records requests.
It's her job to try and resolve issues between homeowners and HOAs before they go to court. She says her office has been open less than a year and they get an average of 1 complaint per day. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the U.S. consumer prices climbed sharply again last month as the war with Iran pushed energy prices higher. The Labor Department reports the Consumer Price Index rose 3.8% compared to April last year. Your money at this moment reacting largely to that news of the price increases. The Dow is down 191 points today to 49,513. Coming up, we got another day of record-breaking heat. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone saying you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's the real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half, plus try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. No commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, whatever else you can do with your phone, all for half the price and none of the commitment. That means you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Wild. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to xfinitymobile.com, or visit your local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes, fees, extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only after 12 months. Regular rates apply. Go to xfinitymobile.com.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Built smart. Save big with construction loans at UCCU. Here's Cormac Bone.
We don't have any delays on I-15 all across the Wasatch Front, but there are still a couple of crashes in Utah County. The first is by Timpanogos Highway, and they are still blocking that right lane and shoulder at the end of the on-ramp from Timpanogos Highway to northbound I-15. And again, no delays behind them. The other crash we have is in the left shoulder near 820 north in Provo, and they are also out of traffic and in that left shoulder. Where we do have delays is northbound US 6 approaching I-15, where we had a crash earlier, but that has since cleared off the road. Traffic's rough, but your parking lot doesn't have to be. Keep it smoother than your summer playlist with GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast: sunny and hot today with a potential record-breaking high of 93 degrees in Salt Lake City. Tomorrow we hit 90 again, but then the wind arrives, which cools things down a bit for Thursday. Right now it's 75 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, a couple members of Utah's congressional delegation are chiming in right now over whether or not the president needs to consult Congress if, in fact, the war in Iran continues any longer. And what we're talking about, of course, is the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which limits military action without congressional declaration of war to 60 days, after which the president can trigger a 30-day extension to withdraw troops. The 60-day mark is passed. In fact, Holly, we're at about 70 days now, and there still has been no congressional approval of this, nor has the president backed out of the conflict.
So one of the things, of course, is that the administration has said, well, because there's a ceasefire, which is on life support, because there's a ceasefire, then the clock stopped, and so it doesn't count. But both Celeste Malloy and Blake Moore, who are current congressional representatives, and Senator John Curtis have all weighed in and said, hey, look, we need to go about this the right way. So both Representative Moore and Malloy recently, just in the last few days, have sat down with the editorial boards, combined boards with KSL and Deseret News, and they asked them about this, and both of those congressional representatives said that they're basically not opposed to the war as long as they go about it the right way. They both support the goal of making sure that Iran doesn't have any ability to have a nuclear weapon, but they're like, you can say, yeah, it needs to go through Congress, but nothing's happening.
Right. And they have, like you said, expressed some support for the concept of Iran not developing a nuclear weapon, like you just indicated. So that the idea of why the war started makes sense of 60 days. And whether you can call it a ceasefire or not, they're firing on each other daily. And you would expect that some members of Congress would say, hey, we need to do something about this. I'm surprised that even one of our senators is weighing in on it.
Well, and this is John Curtis, and he weighed in a while ago, right? He weighed in at about day 30-ish and said, look, right now we think the president has authority to take this action, but once we hit 60 days, but as you pointed out, we're past the 60-day mark. We're like in week 11, something like that now. And it's, I guess my frustration here is seeing that you have people saying we have to do it the right way. We have to get congressional approval, right? A declaration of war from Congress. But it's just like the movement isn't actually there. You can say, yes, we should do this, but it's just not happening.
And history is not exactly on the side of the congressional representatives either, because presidents have historically engaged in conflicts without congressional approval, and we don't end up getting it. I mean, this War Powers Act, this War Powers Resolution, is a great idea. It just doesn't seem like we follow it particularly well in this country.
Yeah,
and presidents are allowed to take some pretty significant leeway.
Well,
I don't know.
Are they allowed to take it, or
not allowed.
Just
they just
take
do
it? They just do it.
They're allowed to, and then nobody does anything about it.
So, yeah, and then, you have the ongoing conversation of we need to make sure that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. I thought that they were completely obliterated in the fall. I thought that's why we bombed Iran in the fall. But in either case, what we see, and you have mentioned this, the ceasefire, such as it is, they haven't ceased firing.
Right.
Right. And there's a proposal that Iran came back with. I think the U.S. had a proposal, Iran counter-proposed, and the president basically called it ridiculous and a non-starter. I'm paraphrasing what he actually said, but he's like, absolutely not.
Before we get to more of what they talked about, I was wondering this. Let's say Congress, and this is maybe a rhetorical question, let's say Congress jumps in and says, hey, knock it off, we're pulling out. Do we just walk away? I mean, you know what I mean? Does the military?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I see Pete Hegseth asking for
$1.5 trillion
for the war effort. I mean, he's certainly not thinking this is going to end anytime soon.
I don't know the answer to that question, and I think that's a smart question to ask, right? Is what does it look like? I think one of the questions at the beginning of the war was, what are our benchmarks? Like, what are our goals? How do you know when you've been victorious, right? So we wanted regime change. We have a new Ayatollah, but it's a relative. He's younger and more extreme than his dad. So we've hardened some of the sentiment, at least some of the news reporting that we've seen, hardened the sentiment of the Iranian people against the United States. That's problematic as well.
So these two representatives, Holly, appeared before the KSL and Deseret News editorial boards on Monday, and were asked questions about this. And I'm assuming that because they're in races right now, and that we are literally weeks before the primary, or at least sometime before the primary, that their opponents would be able to come in. I don't know if this was a political thing or a...
No, they will. And the editorial board has, they've reached out to, I know, to all of the candidates in these larger races and are scheduling or have scheduled times for them to go in front of the editorial board. But this was specific to the war in Iran, and mentioning that they wanted to come in and talk broadly, but then they had specific questions on Iran. But I'll say this on the massive life support. So this is yesterday. The president, today's Tuesday. Yesterday the president spoke in the Oval Office, and there were reporters there, and he said about the counter proposal, I guess, from Iran. He said, I would call it the weakest right now. The truce is the weakest right now after reading that piece of garbage they sent us. And then he said, I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living. So he's basically saying, look, we think the ceasefire is not going to hold. It's basically over. And then I don't know what that means when the ceasefire is over.
So then what?
The strait is closed.
The bombing starts again, or something like that.
Right. So Iran already attacked the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. The U.S. and Iran traded fire in the Strait of Hormuz. The Pentagon said, this is in the last week alone, by the way, the Pentagon said it had struck 2 Iran-flagged oil tankers. Like, stuff is happening, even though there's supposedly a ceasefire in place.
Right. And we are hearing reports from the Pentagon as recently as today that the war effort has so far cost $29 billion, which is almost $1 billion a day.
Yeah.
I mean, $29 billion, and it'll be $30 billion in a day.
It's $500 million a day, right? Because the war's been going
for
70 days.
Right.
But yeah, it's more than they anticipated, and they're wanting, as you mentioned, $1.5 trillion to continue this war in Iran. So, whether you think it's a good idea or not a good idea, I know that people are feeling the price of gas. They're feeling it in their produce. They're feeling it at the grocery store. We've talked about the price of product largely, and then we're going to see it in other areas as well. The longer this goes on, the more we're going to see price impacts.
Do you think it's important with our media right now that we have these editorial board meetings that we bring candidates in? I mean, when I ran for Attorney General, I came before the KSL and Deseret News editorial board and spoke my piece. Of course, we were
I think it is part of the responsibility for the media to share both sides, right? If people have a specific issue, I know, for example, with the data center up in Box Elder County, both Carrie Ann Lisenby and Blake Moore have weighed in on that, right? And that news organizations are reporting what they are both saying, which I think is fair. So I think it's important. One of the things I've noticed when I was working on political campaigns is people don't start paying a lot of attention to races until about 2 weeks before Election Day. So having that information out there, right? And I have already seen this. You've got somebody who comes in and they'll have an opponent. Their opponent will come in as well, but they use that opportunity to share on social media. It's like I just was in front of the editorial board, and this is something that I said that's really important to me. It's a chance for them to share their message. So Representative Malloy came in last Friday. Phil Lyman will come in this coming Friday. Blake Moore was in yesterday, and I know that Carrie Ann is being scheduled. I don't know if she has a specific date, but there's also in CD1, there's all of those candidates as well. Yeah, they're all coming in as well.
An entirely different concept on the war.
Yeah,
you can imagine.
Well, maybe,
right.
Yeah. Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to talk about license plate scanning cameras coming to a home improvement store near you. Really? We're going to talk security and privacy next.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Spring is here, and so is the Sutherland Spring Spectacular Sale. Are you ready to transform your garden into a vibrant oasis? Head to Sutherland's right now for unbeatable deals on all your favorite plants. Get ready to hang gorgeous 10-inch promo hanging baskets. Regularly $19.99, now slashed to just $9.99. Annuals that delight with color. Sutherland's has 4 packs of annuals regularly priced at $2.99, now only $1.75. Plant more, spend less. Looking to grow your own veggies? Sutherland's 4-inch vegetables, normally $5.99, are now just $4.44. Start your garden today with savings in every pot. And don't miss Sutherland's stunning 1-gallon geraniums, regularly $9.99, now a mere $5.99. So come on down to Sutherland's for the Spring Spectacular Sale. These offers are blooming wonderful, but they won't last long. Visit your local Sutherland store today, and let's make this spring spectacular.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country. and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, over the last several years, a lot of stores have been cracking down on shoplifting, Holly, which is a chronic problem. And so most people think that's a really good idea.
But at what point does privacy matter more than security?
So Lowe's and Home Depot are deploying something. This is really interesting. New anti-theft tactics, including automatic license plate readers.
Which is interesting. So ABC's Rena Roy explains.
Some critics have raised privacy concerns as law enforcement embraces this technology. The cameras, which capture license plate numbers, date, time, and location, are increasingly being used by police, but civil rights groups worry the technology could be used to target suspected undocumented workers or women seeking reproductive health care. Home Depot and Lowe's insist they do not share information with third parties. Lowe's saying it only discloses your personal information if required by law or legal process.
So I was wondering about what the pushback would be from some of these groups, and she just mentioned it. I was glad to listen to Rena's conversation that it could produce a problem for undocumented residents, and it could also be, an invasion of privacy for women seeking reproductive services help.
Well, and not only that, but women seeking to be safe, right? And here's another story about license plate readers. And this is from the Institute for Justice, but one of the things that they say just a couple of weeks ago that police have reportedly used license plate readers to stalk romantic interest at least 15 times in the last couple of years. And one of them, I remember seeing a story just a day or two ago, had this was in Milwaukee. He used it to track his romantic partner and one of the partner's exes 180 times over 2 months. For me, that's where I start to be concerned, right, about license plate readers. I mean, I guess that you can say, okay, well, they came into the store and this is the car that they were driving.
So let me help alleviate those concerns, because I've represented a lot of police officers over the years, some of whom have done exactly what you're talking about here. And when an officer accesses this system, it's recorded. They can't just...
Which is how they know it was 180 times.
Right, exactly. So if somebody's accessing his or her spouse or significant other's goings on, or more what I see more of is that they're finding out who's at their ex-wife's house.
Sure.
They're following that person, the boyfriend, the whatever, and that they get caught. That's a job ender. That's a very, very serious thing for law enforcement. Anyway, I just wanted to digress about that.
Okay, so just talk to me just in the context then of shoplifting and shoplifting prevention. If you're saying we're going to scan every single license plate of every single vehicle that enters our store parking lot, how is that technically helpful in the shoplifting? Did they know who's going out with the stolen goods?
Yeah, I thought you were going a different direction. Yeah, they do, because what happens is this. The shoplifter comes and does what they do, and then they leave the store. And you'll see often a picture, hey, does anybody know this person? But if the cars are recorded going in, they can at least see what cars have left after that shoplifter left. They can see what vehicles left the parking lot. They can monitor the comings and goings of vehicles, and they can look for trends. This a particular group is known to shoplift, so they can because sometimes once you get out of the store, they don't know where you're going or what you've done. That's why they usually try to grab you right at the doors.
Sure.
And so I, just from my own experience representing serial shoplifters, they'll sometimes just bolt for the door and the car's sort of waiting for them out there. What's security going to do? If you don't have a record of the license plate, you unless you can have somebody identify the picture of the person walking around doing the shoplifting, you can't get a suspect.
Well, would an unintended consequence of this be incentivizing people to either obscure the license plate or steal a car before they go to shoplift?
Of course, yeah. Of course, you could do
that.
You
seems
do
problematic.
anything. Yeah, put up something over the license plate or whatever. I mean, I don't know that most of the thieves I deal with her that smart. I could also imagine that you don't enter the parking lot. You park next door. Of course, that makes the shoplift a little more difficult because you got to walk through traffic.
Yeah. I don't know. You have a lot more experience with shoplifters than
No,
I do.
shoplifters will find a way around anything. But I would say this, in terms of the right to privacy, people saying, oh, this violates privacy. I don't know. I mean, I'm a defense attorney, so you'd expect me to take a different position. But do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy
in a parking
where
lot?
your car is in a public,
I would say probably not.
Parking lot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can come and go. And besides that, it's not a secret. Lowe's and Home Depot we're not just learning about this. They're saying, hey, we're doing this. So they'll probably put signs out that say your car's going to be recorded.
Yeah.
So where's the expectation of privacy then? If it says, and if you say, well, I don't want anybody to record my license plate, then they say,
well, don't shop here.
Right. It's really, it's that easy. So I don't know that I think that it really is that big of a problem. I do understand if they're doing it to try to catch people who may be in our country under undocumented circumstances. And so I hope that's not what they're doing. This isn't ICE doing this. This is
from doing this.
Well, they would have to have the permission of the store. I mean, ICE.
I don't mean just at Home Depot. I just mean using license plate readers because I feel like, oh yeah, here's Homeland Security, license plate readers. ALPR systems use cameras and software to automatically capture, analyze, and store vehicle license information. So this is just from DHS specifically.
They do it all the time. Law
They
enforcement
do it all
has
the
these readers all the time. And I know the officers that have these readers, and they're looking for cars that don't have insurance, or the plates are expired, or maybe it's a stolen vehicle or something. So they're on all the time, even though the officer's not even necessarily looking at the car. Their readers reading it all the time. And we've found that those have been largely legal.
I see this right now, so I had to look it up, right? But Walmart is using it too.
Yeah.
Walmart is doing it.
Shoplifting is an insidious problem. I mean, I feel so badly for retail stores, and really the smaller stores are the ones that scare you the most. A small mom and pop jewelry or a clothing store or something where they're living on a thread anyway, and 10% of their merchandise is going out the back door, sometimes by their own employees. But you can't. And I look at some of these stores and I see, because I see, I represent a ton of shoplifters, and they're sophisticated, and they do things with diversions and other things where they're
some of them are. I'll say I have a couple of kids. I have one who's worked in a retail store, another one who actually did work in a home improvement store, and I think they're both instructed on how to do loss prevention, but also not direct aggressive confrontation either, because they don't know if that shoplifter's carrying a gun, and they don't want him to be shot and killed in the store.
Right. And typically our loss prevention officers are not armed. I mean, if it's somebody that's
just saying somebody who's working the cashier,
right.
You can say, hey, like you can notify people, you can notify the local law enforcement. But like my daughter, who's a manager of a retail store, she's been told, just if they're going to walk out with goods, just let them walk out. Like you can tell them, hey, stop, but you're not going to go chase after them.
Yeah, I've also noticed different stores, without naming any, that are much more aggressive about shoplifters, and some who are really, we don't have time for it. You know what I mean? They do very little to stop shoplifting, and I'm obviously not going to mention any names, and then there are others that are like, they'll even sue the shoplifter for money. There's a civil penalty to that, and they have lawyers who send letters and say, hey, pay us $300, and I always tell them, you might as well pay it, because if you get sued and you lose, and you get guilty of a shoplift.
We do have one texter who said legal process is a matter of definition. Is that true?
Legal process?
Yeah. I think it varies for some people.
Sure. I mean, but that's why we have judges, to give us that definition.
I just say
it's
maybe not a fair playing field. I'm not sure if that's what our texter means, but it's again, it's an interesting thing, and I've said this before with our cell phones, for example, where people are like, well, I don't want the government to track me. It's like, if you have your location finder on your phone, you're tracked.
They can track you, right?
Right. I mean, and they can even track if you have it on and then turn it off and then put it back on again, right? You turn it off while you're committing a crime and then you put it back on again. It's like, we've signed up for this. right?
And
we have done that.
Right. And that is the ever-evolving expectation of privacy that we have in this country. If you're in a phone booth back in the 50s, you can expect nobody's listening to your call. But if you're blasting on radio tower across the street, and the government can pick that up in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, fun conversations. Okay, so when we come back, over the next half an hour, actually, we're going to talk about immigration. We'll have an update on a KSL podcast on Afghan refugees. Plus, we're going to have more on a bill in Congress called the Dignity Act. Stay with us over this next break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. 2 men are facing drug charges after police say they tried to sell drugs to teenagers. The Summit County Sheriff's Office says the investigation actually started back in February when the parents of a 16-year-old boy called officers after learning their son was using cocaine. The teen pointed investigators to Andre Josiah Lopez and Gregory Lee Williams. They were arrested and are accused of getting drugs from California by mail. One person was seriously injured after a shooting inside of a Cedar City home. It was yesterday evening when police were executing a search warrant. The Cedar City Police Department says preliminary findings indicate the firearm was not discharged by an officer. The investigation is ongoing. Our top national stories this hour from ABC News. We're hearing from one of the Americans who was a passenger on the small cruise ship that had the hantavirus outbreak. Jake Rosemarin tells ABC News he's among the people quarantined in a special facility in Nebraska.
Holding up pretty well. I mean, I was relieved to get off the ship and have a plan in place, and they're treating us really, really well here. So I can't ask for anything more than that.
He plans on staying in the quarantine facility for the entire incubation period of the virus. He also tells Good Morning America he's in good spirits. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 178 points to 49,525. Coming up, we got another record hot day on tap today. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:30.
Recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
21 pounds. That's how much I've lost in just over a month with SOTA, S-O-T-A, Diet Nutrition. They told me I would lose 2 pounds a week. I've lost 21 pounds in 5 weeks. So I've been well ahead of the curve, and I'm almost to where I want to be. I signed up with SOTA Diet Nutrition, like I say, just over a month ago after I thought whatever I'm doing isn't working. And I also thought I don't want to go on pills or injections or anything like that. I want it to be based on diet. It is based on diet. It's worked well for me. And like I say, tomorrow's my 5-week checkup, so I'm anxious to see what my new numbers are going to be. But so far, so good. It's SOTADietNutrition.com, S-O-T-A, and it is a food-based program where you don't take pills. You still eat. You eat regularly. In fact, you eat more often than I did before. But it's just different kind of food. It's different kind of menu. It's different kind of things that I've thought about, and it's worked well for me. Remember, SOTA, S-O-T-A. Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's Renter's Insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the four walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hyundai gives you America's best warranty on every new vehicle. It includes a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, plus 24/7 roadside assistance. That's peace of mind from Hyundai. And these days, that's priceless.
Now, get the Hyundai Tucson for 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days. Visit your local Hyundai dealer. Offers end June 1st. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
No major delays on all our freeways across the Wasatch Front, but we do still have this crash on northbound I-15 in Provo just after Center Street. They are out of traffic and in that left shoulder, so again, no slowdowns behind them. Where you can expect delays is in the normal places. On the 201 freeway in both directions, light delays from 8400 west to 7200 west, and 2100 north in Lehigh, a little bit heavy as you try to get onto I-15. Spring has blossomed in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife. And excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we're looking at record heat again today after yesterday set a record. Salt Lake City expect to hit at 93 degrees, 90 tomorrow, but then only 73 on Thursday when the winds pick up. Right now, it's 75 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Afghan refugees who came to the United States in 2021 and 2022 came here legally, and they're facing growing uncertainty amidst a changing immigration environment. And now, Utah citizens are stepping in to try and save their Afghan neighbors from deportation.
Yeah, a new bonus episode of KSL Podcast's Stranger Becomes Neighbor was just released this morning, looking at the efforts of everyday Utahns to help their neighbors navigate a changing immigration landscape.
Andy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
It's an overcast morning in February in West Valley City. There's about a dozen people huddled nervously in the parking lot outside what looks like an office building with large reflective windows. But it's actually a field office for immigration and customs enforcement.
Ali?
Yes. Ali and Zafar, you remember these two?
Yes, I remember. How are you all doing this morning?
It's good.
No, really? Are you feeling good?
Not feeling good, to be honest with you, not feeling good.
No.
I'm here because 2 Afghan men have been called in for appointments with ICE. They brought friends and a lawyer for support because they believe there's a good chance they'll be detained. But one of the men, Zafar Zulfikar, insists he's not scared.
I'm not scared and I'm not in fear.
You're not scared? You feel like you don't have any reason to fear. You've not done anything wrong? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Zafar was a captain in the Afghan National Army Commandos, working in partnership with the U.S. for 9 years. He has a yellow folder tucked under his arm. Inside is documentation of his service and letters of support. A picture of him side by side with American service members. He says the Taliban tried to kill him when American troops withdrew from the country, but he escaped and made his way to Utah after crossing the border from Mexico. He just can't imagine that the U.S. would deport him. His friends are here to try to make sure that doesn't happen.
My name is Dave Fulmer.
Dave Fulmer made the 90-mile trip from rural Fairview in Sanpete County to be here.
We've probably maybe 20 people in Sanpete County that know Zafar and are friends to him, are raising money for his legal defense, giving him opportunities to work and places to live.
Is there something holding the group together, veterans or just people?
Friendship.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We know Zafar and his family. They're good people. And that's really the only excuse we need to help us, because we know he's a good person. He was an ally to the United States. He's very faithful, a good citizen, has a good job. There's no reason for us to not help. So there's quite a group of us that are doing that.
Let's sound from this new bonus episode. We have us with us in studio, senior podcast producer Andrea Smartin. Thanks for joining us, Andrea.
My pleasure.
These stories are just so heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. But there is also it's been interesting to watch people, showing up at these ICE appointments and what kind of an impact that is. And that's something it's hard to determine. I've followed about 5 of these Afghan men and their different cases, and they've had different outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have had witnesses go with them to their ICE appointments, and some have not. Some have had reporters there like me, and some have not. And they've had different outcomes. So it's been and things are changing over time, I think, as far as how ICE is operating.
Andrea, what can you tell our listeners about this Stranger Becomes Neighbor series? What it's about? What it's doing?
So when I first did it first came out in 2023. So I had been following Afghans since 2021 and their arrival in Utah and Utah's response and promising to be a welcoming community. And then I wanted to see how that panned out. So I ended up really getting connected with a lot of Utah citizens who were very interested in helping, and some of whom fell away after a few months. They brought some food and some warm clothes and then said, I've done my job. And some of them just kept going and kept helping them finding jobs and transportation and healthcare, and they're tried to help them achieve legal status in the country. So those folks are the ones who first contacted me when they said, things are changing. I was helping people resettle. Now I'm trying to prevent people from getting deported. And there's appointments coming up. Will you come and see what happens?
Yeah. So these Afghan refugees that are here, they're here under the temporary protected status. Is that right?
They first arrived those who came on evacuation flights managed by the U.S. government. They had a temporary status, temporary humanitarian parole, they called it. But then once they got here, they could start applying for asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of them are in that asylum application process, which can take years. You're just in the pipeline, and it can take years to have your case heard. Some of them have achieved asylum, so they're sort of safe maybe in this country, and some of them have green cards, but even that is in question now.
Yeah, it's in question because, Andrea, the administration has taken a different line on this group, and a lot of these people assisted the U.S. military and worked for the U.S. military and took care of them, and so going back home to Afghanistan would be almost like a death sentence.
Yeah, that was clear in Zafar, who you heard from in the clip. He had already been, the Taliban had attempted to kill him when the U.S. first pulled out of Afghanistan. And because they worked with the U.S., they are especially at risk. So it's definitely a huge concern for these people. And it's not clear where they would go, if they would be sent back to Afghanistan or some other country.
So one of the things that I was struck by just with that soundbite that we heard is that I think it was Zafar, he said he's not scared because he hadn't done anything wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that is the protective mechanism that maybe it used to be.
Right. Well, that was what we discovered, those who were trying to help, and me as I'm following this reporting, they could have, all of these men that were targeted for ICE appointments actually entered through the Mexico border, but it was legal at the time that they did it. There is a process for making an appointment, meeting with immigration officials, and being allowed to live in this country with an asylum application in process. And that's all of these 5 men were in that situation. And none of them had done anything wrong, anything illegal. So yeah, being a good person doesn't necessarily prevent you from being deported.
And it's got to be a tough decision for some of these men if you avoid your ICE appointment, you're in trouble. And if you go and they're waiting for you, you're in trouble. And I don't know how they make these decisions, but when you attended these, just listening to this, they had people with them. They even had, some of them even took their attorneys with them.
Yes, that's the strategy they took, which I think is smart. I think they know that you can't avoid ICE. They know where to find you. They have your information, especially because they had been doing things legally up until then. They have their address. There's no running,
right?
Unless you're going to go in the shadows somehow. And so So I think they knew they had to go the legal route, and the approach that they took was, let's get as many witnesses as we can. Let's get eyes on this process. And it was interesting timing because the appointments that I went to were in February, right after things were unfolding in Minnesota, and it was actually starting to wrap up. And I think the administration was saying, this isn't a good look for us. What's happened with the deaths of Alex Preedy and Renee Good and other violent confrontations in Minnesota, it was, I think the public was starting to turn on the sentiment on that. And so I think they're taking a quieter approach now. It seems as though they don't want media attention for the ICE arrests that are happening now. That's the way it seems to me, because they're not making as much of a spectacle.
Well, I don't disagree that they would prefer not to have media attention, but there's that new episode dropped this morning, right? When Stranger Becomes Neighbor, KSL podcast.
That's right.
All right.
All right. Well, let's continue this topic of immigration when we come back and dig into a proposal on Capitol Hill to provide more dignity to people trying to navigate the immigration system. That's coming up next.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And let's face it, it's time to update the look of your home's exterior. When was that thing built? In the 50s, 70s, 90s, the 2000s? Well, it's looking like it. Faded siding, drafty windows, leaky gutters. It's time to take action now. RGS Exteriors has been taking Utah homes from drab to fab for over 5 generations. We only use the highest quality materials, like James Hardy siding and gutter topper gutter covers. You will be blown away by how much different and better and awesome your house can look. Your neighbors will be jealous, your home value will go up, and most of all, you're going to love it. Everything we do comes with our industry-leading 10-year everything guarantee, so you can sleep like a baby, knowing if anything goes wrong, you're 100% covered. For a free estimate on your gutters, windows, siding, or anything on your outside of your home, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriorsutah.com. That's rgsexteriorsutah.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
My friend Joey loves to use old familiar sayings.
You know what they say.
The problem is,
don't look at a gift horse, because you can't make them drink.
He gets a lot of them mixed up.
People who live in glass houses,
here it comes,
shouldn't cry over spilt milk.
There are also a lot of sayings in the financial world, like, you'll pay lower taxes in retirement. But for many people, it's just not true. You may have done a great job saving in that 401k or IRA, but Uncle Sam is ready to grab a big portion of that money. The team at Galileo Wealth Management can help with strategies that you can start now to lower your tax bill in the future. More for you and less for Uncle Sam.
Or as they say, an apple a day is worth 2 in the bush.
Get the facts on your tax bill in retirement. Call Galileo Wealth today at 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online at GalileoWealth.com.
And remember, a stitch in time keeps the doctor away. Does, you know.
Boost your team's productivity and morale with this workplace tip from Cintas. A well-maintained uniform helps your team look and feel more professional. Don't leave their appearance to chance. Let Cintas handle your team's uniforms. With their Apparel Plus program, Cintas picks up, launders, and delivers fresh work apparel back to you, so your employees focus on doing their jobs, not their laundry. Learn more about Apparel Plus at Cintas.com.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Before summer moves in, hit reset with Zerorez. May is that in-between season where school is wrapping up, summer travel is around the corner, guests will be coming over, and before you know it, the kids are home all day. Before that summer chaos begins, give your home the refresh it deserves with Zerorez carpet and air duct cleaning. Zero Res uses patented technology to clean your carpets the right way without sticky soaps or harsh chemicals. That means your carpets stay cleaner longer and it's safe for kids and pets too. Plus, unlike traditional cleaners, Zero Res leaves carpets dry in hours, not days. And with the Zero Res Gotta Love It guarantee, if you're right now is the perfect time to book. Because Zero Res will clean 3 rooms of carpet for just $129. And they'll do a free hallway cleaning. Give your home a reset before all the summer fun. Call 866-0RES or visit ZeroRes.com today. Spelled the same forwards or backwards, Zero Res is the right way to clean.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, emergency. Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
Well, let's continue our conversation on immigration in this segment. Many Americans have complained about our current immigration system, saying it's too outdated or too complex. Well, now Congress is, we're asking Congress to make some changes. Maybe they will.
I maybe won't hold my breath.
Well, there's a group that is looking into it, at least.
They are. And look, here's one of the things that we know from Congress. Lots and lots of people have come back and said, we agree on 90, maybe 95% of the immigration reforms that need to happen. We focus on the extremes, and that's where we have the disagreement. But really, we could get something passed if we actually wanted to and came together. So there's actually a caucus. It's a bipartisan caucus. They're called the Problem Solvers, and they are endorsing what they're calling the Dignity Act, which is a bipartisan immigration proposal being put forward in the House.
Right. And this Dignity Act would give at least a pathway for legal status for undocumented immigrants who have been in the United States, and while still boosting security and reform the asylum seeker processes.
So if you can imagine, right, we have a lot of people who have done things the right way. We've talked about that on this show. They've followed all the rules. They dotted all the I's. They crossed all the T's. And now all of a sudden they're finding that, for example, if they're asylum seekers, they've done everything they needed to do, but then the rules change. And maybe now they're just going to get swept up, right? So anyway, this Problem Solvers Caucus they're promoting a bill that would make the immigration system what they call more secure, orderly, and fair, and it reduces the national debt.
Don't you think this has to be in response to what's happening nationally, that maybe the administration's immigration processes and procedures have gone a little bit too far? I mean, that maybe some Americans are saying, hey, wait a minute, this is not quite what we thought was going to happen. And there should be there should be a pathway for citizenship for people that really want to work.
Well, and that people who do things the right way, right? So there's a whole process for getting asylum, for example. All of these people who are here under temporary protected status, we know that there's over 1 million of those people who followed the process, right? Who now may have that status yanked out from underneath them. So as you might imagine, there's some pushback to this approach.
Sure. I mean, and people are going to push back and say, this was the administration's plan. We've got to stay the line. I don't know that Donald Trump's going to push back too much on it. I mean, it is going to back off of his stance on it and is going to continue to push back. But Holly, yesterday I asked my wife, what are we doing about this project we're supposed to do with our yard? And she said, the landscaper can't get help anymore. He lost his crew. Yep. What about this? We've got a little place down in central Utah that's still waiting for stucco. What happened to that? They quit in the middle of the job last winter, and she said the same thing. Yeah. The contractor cannot get help. His crew is gone. And that hits close to home. At least to me, it's got to be hitting close to home with a lot of other Americans thinking, is this really what we signed up for? The people who really want to work, who really are committed to working, should have a pathway to do that.
I think there are a lot of people who are willing to have the discussion, but there are people on the right, including people from the Freedom Caucus, who say absolutely not. This is a slap in the face to the American people. This is not common sense reform. It should, quote, die in the cradle. It undermines the agenda the American people want. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So like,
tell us how you really feel.
Recent polling rate proves your point. People are still saying, look, we want our borders to be secure. We want the worst of the worst to not be here in this country, but they're really not fans of the over-the-top stuff that we have seen happening. So arresting grandmas, deporting people who helped Americans in Afghanistan, right? The American public now, we've got majority Americans saying this is not what we actually voted for.
I suppose murdering 2 people in Minneapolis didn't help the cause either. I mean,
Did
that was
not help
something
the
where
cause.
America, you saw those pictures over and over and over. 2 people literally shot at close range by ICE agents who were not here illegally, not even part of the
they're
equation.
American citizens.
They're just there to protest and peacefully protest in from what I've seen. And I think America is like going, wait a minute, this is not what we do in this country. This is not how we respond to.
Posed by a Republican. And she's from Florida, and she has, as you can imagine, Florida has a lot of people there. A lot of them have come from Cuba and other places, and she just said, "Look, this is a common sense way to approach immigration, and that there are additional Republicans, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, for example, from Pennsylvania, and he is again another signer on this proposed bill."
You've got to assume that if it gets enough moderate Republicans to sign up, there's going to be a significant number of Democrats that will too. So it may very well go, notwithstanding the pushback that we're getting from this, the Freedom Caucus.
Speaker Johnson would have to approve a vote on this, and I don't get the sense from him that this is something he wants to, even see discussed.
Although, midterms are coming up, and the Republicans need some love. I think they're trying to redistrict themselves back into place, but you still think that if the American public wants this, and Congress is ducking it, the president might have to do what he's done in the past and say, "Hey, let's put it to the vote. Let's see where we are."
Well, the approach from the hardliners is this is not what the American public want. That what they want is for every illegal immigrant to be out of this country. And if you push some of them, they want all immigrants to leave the country. I'm like, well, hello, unless you're Native American, that includes everybody.
That's all of us, yeah. No, that's not going to happen. I don't know. I mean, polls are absolutely against what they're saying. I mean, the American public is not happy with the current immigration policy, I think. They're not happy with the economy either. But there are a lot of things that are going on right now that people are like going, hey, wait a minute. This is not what we signed up for when we voted for Donald Trump 2 years ago. And we didn't expect that this was going to be, I mean, I don't know what people did expect, because a lot of us did think, boy, this crackdown is going to be horrible. Wait 2 years and you may be regretting what happened here. And I think some people are.
Yeah, I think that's true. And so I wanted to look up some of the polls, and this was actually in January. So this is before the things that happened, the murders that happened in Minnesota. But there were people, the one I guess that was the most favorable is having a military presence at the U.S. border with Mexico. But one of the other issues I think we need to remember is we even talked about this at a special show that we did during the in-between general conference sessions. What about all these people who do things the right way and then the rules are changed, right? And I think people have some real sympathy with that, because they're like, well, I support people who do it the right way. Well, they are doing the right way. A lot of these people are. And again, if you're looking at like dreamers, right? People who are brought here as babies, maybe they're 1 year old. Sending them to a country where they don't remember, they don't know anybody, right? That doesn't seem to meet the immigration goals that we have.
Yeah, and it's not something that we've historically done in this country, because of the fact that it does seem kind of cold, that people have been here at a young age, sometimes they don't even speak the language, and to go back home to a place that's not home, they don't know anyone there or have the ability to do much with it. I mean.
So anyway, it's an interesting conversation. It's called the Dignity Act. It has a lot of pushback already. It does have some support. It also has the backlash. And I think it'll be interesting to see if it ever gets a hearing. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I hadn't thought of it that way. I thought maybe if it's got some momentum that we would see something, but.
So we're talking about politics, and midterms are shaping up. We've talked about that. There are a lot of discussions happening right now with how districts are changing in states across the nation. And a recent ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court on the Voting Rights Act is making things even more complicated and chaotic. So we're going to take a closer look at these redistricting changes when we come back after this break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour. The founder of a local adventure guide company has died after being caught in an avalanche on a Himalayan mountain. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Dash Adventure founders Shelley Johannesson and David Ashley had summited the peak of Mount Makalu in Nepal the day before and were on their way down when they were caught in an avalanche. Climbing magazine Gripped reports Johannesson died from her injuries on the site. The two had been posting fun clips of their journey on social media.
Baby looks like Tawa. Big cheeks.
Ashley and the guides were airlifted to a hospital in Kathmandu. He has since posted online saying Johannesson was an incredible person who lived life with no limits. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Two of Utah's representatives in Congress say that if the Trump administration wants to continue the war in Iran, Congress must sign off on it. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has the details.
Both Utah Congressman Blake Moore and Congresswoman Celeste Malloy told the KSL Deseret News editorial board it's already been more than 60 days since the first bombs fell. Utah Senator John Curtis has also said he would not support continued military action in Iran past 60 days without a vote from Congress.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 61 points, that's 0.12%. The S&P 500 is down 69 points, that's 0.94%. And the NASDAQ is down 513 points, that's nearly 2%. Coming up, you say potential heat record, I say pool day. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Jeff Kaplan here, and every once in a while I still do my afternoon radio show from home, which means this entire legendary radio station is depending on the reliability of my Wi-Fi. If it goes out, KSL goes dead. That's why I use Xfinity Wi-Fi. I get Wi-Fi built for speed, powered by fiber with 99.999% reliability. Xfinity gives you the most intelligent Wi-Fi. It can heal itself. Sometimes between my wife, my grandkids, and me doing the show, there's a lot going on in my house, and the Wi-Fi works perfectly. When there's a problem, whether it's streaming, gaming, working from home, or all three, everything in your home works together. And right now, you can lock in 5 years of Xfinity predictability. 5 years at the same price with no contracts or commitments. You get everything you need, the data, the equipment, and the most reliable Wi-Fi. Get online in minutes, same-day Wi-Fi, same price for 5 years. No contract. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
and you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Ricky Meese.
If you're traveling any of the Valley freeways, you are good to go. We've had a crash in Spanish Fork at the express lane. It is still blocking a right lane of traffic in Spanish Fork. If you're in Utah County and in that area, this is on the eastbound side at 8th North. The right lane is blocked, plenty of room to get around it. If your roof needs repair or replacement, do it now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale. Flexible financing options available. Get the best value on the highest quality roofing job. Get a quote today at snsroofingutah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're looking at a staggering high today of 93 with not much relief tomorrow with a high of 90 before things drop to the 70s and 80s until Sunday when it goes down to 66. Right now, though, it's 75 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, we're already in the throes of midterms, and we think we have primaries coming up soon for a lot of states. Some actually had them last week. But the redistricting process is still going forward, even though some people have already voted. The clock is literally ticking, and we're still trying to figure out what our maps are.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah.
It's a hot mess.
And
so,
it's in response to that recent Supreme Court ruling, which effectively did away with the Voting Rights Act. And
that's what some people are saying.
And it opened the floodgates for states to consider redistricting.
So that one was Louisiana, and Louisiana already had early voting underway for their primaries. They had 40,000 votes that had already been mailed in, submitted. And a reporter asked the governor yesterday or the day before, what about these votes? And he goes, we're just going to throw them away, right? Because they hit a total reset. They're redrawing maps. They're going to redo primaries. They're going to redo districts. Like, how do you even run a campaign or run a race? You don't even know who your voters are, right, at this point. But that's one. But that's not the only one. So in Alabama, now they're saying they've had, if you remember 3 years ago, the Supreme Court said you need to redraw maps this way to Louisiana. They just threw that out. But Alabama drew their maps based on the Supreme Court decision of 3 years ago. They had a stay on that by a federal court. Well, the Supreme Court said, well, you don't have to listen to the stay anymore. And so they're going to redraw their maps to redraw 2 black majority districts to be not majority black anymore. And again, we're less than 6 months away, not only from the primaries, but we're less than 6 months away from the general election. And people are still drawing maps.
You know, and the Voting Rights Act was put in place to prevent that exact thing from happening, so that we don't exclude groups and gerrymander things so that everyone in a group that we don't like ends up with just less than a majority, because you gerrymander the entire state. And the gerrymandering is so almost comical when you look at how things are drawn up and how boundaries go, and how even in our state a couple of years ago, there was apparently some area up in Mill Creek where you could almost be in all four districts just because the legislature clearly wanted to divide Salt Lake County 4 ways and not have a majority of Democrats in any particular district.
So one of the things that's really troubling is how I feel like this is disenfranchising voters, right? And I think when you sow chaos, one of the things that happens is that people stay home. If it's confusing, then they don't show up at the polls, right? They don't go to vote. And in Tennessee, one of the things that they did yesterday is they passed a bill that says that these new congressional districts, they don't have to notify voters that the districts have changed or that their voting location has changed, unless they put it on a website if one exists. And so So it's like, okay, hello. So what you're telling me is my voting location has changed, my congressional district has changed, but you don't have to tell me. I have to proactively seek it out and see if there is even a website, which there may not be.
Yes, you don't know who you're voting for until you show up at the
the polls that may
right.
have changed, right? The location may have changed, and so
even that has changed.
Exactly. So I think when there's a lot of chaos, what typically happens is that you will see voters who stay home. However, I think the flip side of that is when you make voters angry enough, they will show up in droves. And so right now, what Democrats are doing, and I think this is messaging that makes sense to me, is they are starting to campaign on Republicans and trying to steal your vote. Right? They're trying to take your vote away from you. And what we've seen with special elections in this last year is Democrats are showing up in droves, and unaffiliated voters and angry Republicans. I mean, we're just saying, look, that's it. So that's a potential issue for Republicans as they are having an advantage now with these newly redrawn districts. One of the ways you redraw it is you have to disperse Republican strength. And so it has taken away Democratic districts, but it has also weakened Republican districts.
Dilutes the Republicans in it. No question about it. And that could come back to bite people because if you, like you say, if in fact some people are angry at that, especially independents and moderates who say, wait a minute, I can see what's going on here. And they come out by diluting what had historically been safe Republican districts in order to get rid of a safe Democratic district. In other words, diluting them all down, you may end up shooting yourself in the foot.
You may. And, I don't know. It's just that talk about a chaotic election season where you've got multiple states. They don't even know where the boundaries are at this point. Some, like I said, primaries were already underway and they just stopped them. They just stopped the primary. They threw away the votes that had already been cast, and they're going to redraw. And then, like, we've talked in Utah about what it takes to mount a campaign. Just that was February? Like, we had to know absolute drop dead date was sometime the beginning of February, something like that. And now we're saying we're into the middle of May and they're still redrawing.
Yeah, and what does that do to the candidates too? Are you running against somebody that you like?
It's very difficult.
Putting all the Democrats in one pool and saying, okay, have at it, and then even the Republicans going, well, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this.
It's really. I think it's really difficult. I think it's really confusing, and just being able to get voter lists so that you know who you're campaigning to. Again, when you're still in the middle of redrawing, but maybe your primary is 3 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now, that is a really compressed election cycle.
The whole idea of redistricting, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. It may have cost a judge in Utah her job. I mean, writing an opinion.
Absolutely, it did.
And it's divided people. I mean, it became a huge topic of conversation at both the Republican and Democratic conventions. Redistricting. It wasn't about candidates. It was about policies of redistricting and things like that's the kind of thing that, wait a minute. And it's historically we've done it after the
census.
Consensus. The census, every 10 years you sit down and say, okay, let's redistrict. And, this all in Utah goes back to 2018 when they had the Prop 4, the ballot initiative, where the voters are like, hey, wait a minute, this is weird what we're doing here.
Independent Redistricting Commission.
Yeah,
and so that applied when the 2020 census, right? So the 2021 legislative session after you have the census in 2020, that was supposed to be nationally, right? This is when you do it every 10 years. Well, Texas broke that mold. And now we just have cascading series of states saying, well, if you're doing it, I'm going to do it. And if the Supreme Court says we don't have to consider this, then we're not going to consider it either. So we're going to draw districts that are no longer majority black voters. And we're going to make it so we don't have to tell people that polling locations have changed. These are all things that just, I think, undermined public trust in the electoral process, both with their candidates, and then you will see elected officials say, I don't know why people don't trust us.
Yeah, and we're not done here in Utah. I mean, we're done for this cycle.
Oh, absolutely not done.
I will bet anything that our state is redistricted after November. I mean, the legislature is going to do something.
I think that whoever wins in the new District 1 should expect that they have a 2-year term, and that's it.
I agree 100%. And it's sad, but it is the way it is, because I don't think that district's going to last more than one term, whoever comes out of that.
Yeah, and then, then you could redistrict in 28, and then you're going to get a census, and we're on the list, I think, for potentially getting another congressional seat because we have population growth and other places have population loss.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that I don't know. I guess we've talked about redistricting enough. When we come back, the rise of artificial intelligence in political campaigns might have you feeling a little bit uneasy. We talked about some of the issues with artificial intelligence in politics. We're going to talk some more after the break with an expert. Stay with us.
Wait! Before you change the station, listen to this.
CarsForKids.org. That's Cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll also get a vacation voucher and a tax deduction. 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. Donate your car today. 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. Donate your car today.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and
and caregivers, all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
You know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
The new Inside Sources.
In our evolving political world, it's no longer a question of will AI impact politics. It's now how will AI impact politics?
Yeah, we've talked about artificial intelligence a lot in sort of every realm you can imagine, but the intersection of politics and AI is one of those topics that we just haven't talked about, except just maybe once or twice this week.
You know, you and I have been around long enough. I remember when social media was still called new media, and it was a brand new thing in political campaigns. People were shocked that people could use Facebook to connect with voters, or they could use Facebook to raise money, right? That was all brand new. Well, now we're in the era of AI, and we have an expert with us in studio. It's Becky Wright. She's the founder and CEO of Proximity. And I just told you during the break, Becky, I knew you from before you even started the company. So campaign in a box. I remember that. So
yes, so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
So tell us, me especially, because I'm clueless, what Proximity is.
Yeah, Proximity is software powering democracy. We are a platform that helps any political leader connect, engage, and activate voters, constituents, or their community.
So I want to ask you about AI and specifically how political campaigns can use AI tools in maybe good ways, right? Because we keep hearing all these horror stories. There's deep fakes and there's, whether it's a robocall or it's a video and it's getting more concerning. Tell us a good use of AI.
Right. Well, today we just launched our Civic AI smart messaging engine, and that is actually using AI for good in politics. Like you said, it's not a question of whether AI is going to be in politics. It's there. It's already there. And people are using AI for general purpose things all of the time. This really pinpoints how that's being used. So some of the ways that you do it with smart messaging is you put in information about your district, about you, the issues that you care about, what sort of leaning you have, and then you go and you're able to monitor publicly available sources and really get the information before it's old news. That helps you build a strategy to respond to what is happening in your community, gives you community sentiment, social listening, and allows leaders to be more proactive about listening and representing those communities they're trying to serve.
So who is this for? Who would be your market?
Yeah, so this is for any political leader, civic or political leader. So it would be campaigns and candidates, elected leaders. It could also be advocacy groups or individuals who are trying to move people to action in a community sense.
Let me ask you this question. So I'm familiar with tools that were monitoring mentions. This is, I don't know, at least a decade ago, right? Where you can say, okay, well, XYZ topic shows up this big because it's mentioned that many times. Is it something like that?
It's like that on steroids. It's AI-powered monitoring, but also strategy response providing. So not only is it just saying, hey, there was a mention, it says, it knows you as a leader. You're able to have individualized, customized, district-specific data within the smart messaging engine. And then from there, monitor publicly available sources that you want. You can monitor opposition sources as well, and then be able to come up with strategy for what is actually being heard. So some of the problems that we see is that in campaigns and elected leaders, they aren't actually getting to know what people care about. Polls are lagging. They're almost dead at this point. They're used for strategy to sort of position yourself. But polls aren't really appropriate a measure of really what community thinks. So this is a way for leaders to say, I want to be responsive to and know what matters in my community. And then I want to be able to create something that is attuned to what I care about, what my priorities are, and then deliver that through a faster and more efficient way.
So from the perspective, let's say, of a candidate or their team, and they're like some House seat or something like that, just statewide, what would they learn through this, just in terms of their own constituency?
Yeah, for example, let's say you're a leader, that you are an elected leader, and you're wanting to know what to think about a specific policy that's up in a legislative session. If you have created your profile in the smart messaging engine to identify the different issues that you care about, then you'll get alerts from news, from social media, from different things that you have handpicked to watch, and then be able to have a strategy that says, okay, I'm actually understanding what people are talking about, not what my small group of individuals is talking about. That's a problem all of the time with leaders, is they don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't understand the bias that we inherently have from our small community that is surrounding us. This amplifies a broader community, allows you to have a better understanding, and then be able to respond to that.
So how is AI interfacing then, in your view? How does this tool interface with maybe some of the face-to-face? Is this going to replace town halls where nobody shows up? Is this, how do they work together?
Yeah, that's a great question, because nothing will ever beat face-to-face. Nothing. No matter how many emails we get, how many text messages are sent out, you want to hear from leaders. You want to see them. You want to be able to talk with them. But imagine if a leader not only heard you when you showed up to this town hall or when you're angry about something. What if your leaders were trying to represent and respond to your concerns in other times as well? If we have leaders that are doing that are actually listening to the people, then we're going to have more representative leadership.
So it's not necessarily directed. I was thinking it was like a campaign program, but it's also for people who are already in place, wanting to do better for their constituents and ideas and programs and just get a feel for their community.
Yes, absolutely. It's for elected leaders. It's for advocacy groups. We have organizations that are trying to make an impact, organizations that deal in community work. Maybe they're issue-based organizations, or they're organizations generally whose work and effort impacts the public. They care about what the public thinks. They care about moving people to action, and they care about listening and representing them well. So this is campaigns and candidates. This is elected leaders, and then again, advocacy and political leaders as well.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how AI, I understand how AI can be helpful with persuasion because it can write scripts and stuff. How does it help with public trust?
So one of the things that Smart Messaging Engine is a source for deep fakes or creating things that really harm public trust. That is something that's really important in politics right now, and something that's important with AI in politics. So if you're thinking about, does this replace human connection? Does this replace human decision making? Absolutely not. We want to make sure that we are not taking the person out of that process, having the tools that you would need to be more effective, and then allow that person to represent that individual. So if you're talking about public trust and you're wondering, do they actually listen to me? Do they care about what I have to say? Anytime a leader that's responsive to the public shows up to the public, that's going to improve trust and connection.
So your launch is forthcoming, or
today.
It's happening right now.
It is now, yes.
So how are you getting the word out for that?
So we have been...
besides being on our show.
Yes, of course, here at KSL, this is our first stop. No, we have others that we've been talking with. We have some news articles coming out, and we have other interviews as well. You can also visit proximityimpact.com, and from there you can learn more about how we help power democracy.
So I want to ask you a little bit more about Proximity. So you're based in Utah, but I have watched you grow. Where is Proximity working now?
So we were founded in 2023 here in Utah. We now have a presence in over 30 states and in Canada. We're available nationwide. And I like to tell people the future of AI is not only being built in Silicon Valley, it's being built here in Utah. And with the tech scene and with everything that's happening here, we love being here. We love the pro-human AI initiative. We love having an area where people want to encourage innovation and want to help democratize this process. So it's been super happy. We've been happy to be here in Utah.
How can people find out about it? You just told us a website, or how can our listeners or others find out more about this?
Yeah, so visit proximityimpact.com, and from there you can look to Smart Messaging Engine. There's an easy way to navigate there and learn all about it, learn how it's different from just a regular chatbot, how it doesn't create deep fakes, and how it really can help leaders lead and represent their communities.
It sounds like this has been some years in the making.
It has.
Some time.
Yes. I've wanted to do this forever, and now the technology is just right.
Yeah,
That's
but
wonderful.
Just remember, it only started, her whole company only
know.
started 3 years ago.
Yeah, well,
or less than 3.
Come a long way.
So just super quick, right? And that's, I guess that's one of the things that we know about AI is it is very rapidly evolving. And so being able to stay up on this technology, I think people who poo-poo it or ignore it, it will be at their peril.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Becky.
me.
Well, when we come back after the break, we're going to have quite a pivot here. Talk about noxious weeds. No offense. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump leaves for Beijing today. He'll head to the country for a summit with China's leader. China's President Xi is expected to try and move President Trump towards making a major concession regarding Taiwan.
Firstly, trying to get him to scale back billions of dollars in sales in arms sales to the island, but also hoping to try and maneuver President Trump towards perhaps making a concession on the language towards Taiwan, saying that he opposes the independence of Taiwan, which would be a shift. Previously, the U.S. has always said it doesn't support independence, but would not go as far as saying it opposes it.
That's ABC's Patrick Reevell. Other national stories KSL is following. There's growing pressure on British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to step down after local elections last week. ABC's Ian Pannell is outside 10 Downing Street in London with more.
80 or so MPs, members of parliament in his own party, have called for him to stand to one side. At least one junior cabinet minister has also done that. But the system here, certainly within the Labour Party, it's not a vote of confidence. It's essentially a popularity contest. If someone challenges him for the leadership and they get enough votes, then he will be turfed out of office.
Starmer has been coming under fire for some campaign promises related to retirement benefits and national debt that critics say he's not been able to deliver on. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 5.6 points. That's 0.01%. The S&P 500 is down 47 points. That's 0.64%. And the Nasdaq is down 389. That's 1.5%. Coming up, it's time to break out the linens. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
When you need a new water heater, you need it right now.
Yep, can't wait on that.
When you need a new furnace or a new air conditioner come the summertime, you need it right now. So Superior Water and Air has a wonderful program where they can help you with financing. If you need it, get it today and pay it off when you get your tax refund or just over time.
And that's one of the great things is they have multiple financing options. It's not just one, okay, you've got to do it this way. It's, you can wait till just after your tax refund. Well, what if you need no payments until later in the year?
Yeah.
They can work with you like that because look, they want to help you get you back on your feet with the thing that doesn't work that you got to use.
Yeah.
And they'll just work with your situation. What a great way to do it.
I loved introducing you to my friends at Superior because they're just great people. And when you invite somebody into your home, you want to feel good about them.
Yeah, and they're so customer centric. That was what really impressed me, was they wanted to work with me and my family, whatever needs we might have.
Right. They want your home to be safe and clean. Superior Water and Air. Here's the number, 801-872-8483, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
Are you okay?
Okay. Gas is up. Groceries are up. Everything up, up, up.
Not at Strong Volkswagen.
Strong Volkswagen.
Yeah, purchase any vehicle with a dime. One dime down.
What is the deal with dimes?
One dime down. Plus, oil changes at just $59.95 at Strong Volkswagen.
Just $59.95?
Or lease a new 2026 Jetta S. Just $235 a month. $235.
Fun fact, new Jetta get up to 42 mpg.
Even new all-wheel drive Atlas. Just $432 a month. $432.
And you get a lifetime warranty. Lifetime. But my own mother won't loan me money.
You're not getting the money! It's okay. If you got a job and a dime, you ride, mister.
This is great. I'm back, baby, during Volkswagen Driver Days.
At Strong Volkswagen. For over 70 years, Strong Volkswagen.
Located downtown.
StrongVW.com.
StrongVW.com. For details, call 801-596-2200.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big at UCCU.com. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a small crash in Davis County. This is southbound I-15 near Clearfield. It's going to be after 7th South SR 193, and all vehicles are out of traffic over to the left. All of your Salt Lake County freeways are seeing good speeds at this time. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're looking at a searing high of 93 today with some clouds. Tomorrow, possibility of lightning storms with a high of 90. Not quite so severe the rest of the week with highs in the 70s and 80s until Sunday when it drops into the 60s. Right now, though, it's 81 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You've probably heard the cry, bring out your dead. Well, in Utah, it's bring out your weeds, and state officials are now issuing public notices to landowners that you better get rid of your noxious weeds. In fact, it's part of a law here in Utah called the Noxious Weed Act.
Well, and there's a difference between your garden variety weeds.
Yeah, I think they're all obnoxious.
And actual noxious weeds. They actually do mean something. And we have with us on the line Ton Bettis. He's co-host of the KSL Greenhouse Garden Show and horticulturist at Utah State University. Thanks for joining us, Ton.
You're welcome.
I wanted to just start by having you explain to us what a noxious weed is and how that's different from your garden variety weeds.
Well, a noxious weed is legally determined that it can cause economic and or ecological damage. And so I'm getting a really bad echo on my end.
We can hear you great. You sound great for our side.
Okay. Let's see. See if that helps.
We can hear you just fine.
Plow through. Yeah, thank you. So the difference between the two, as a standard annoying weed and a noxious weed, is that the noxious weeds will cause ecological or economical damage to farmers and their natural environment.
Okay. So that we have news stories right now that are saying public officials people are getting notices officially to get rid of a particular one. This one, especially in Washington County, they've got several Malta, star thistle, and giant reed. I don't know anything about these. So tell us what would happen and what would, I guess, make public officials send official notice.
The noxious weeds down there, along with others, will use groundwater and soil nutrients and crowd out other native plants and also harm native wildlife, including insect pollinators and other mammals and different things. So they pose such a danger that Washington County has told the homeowners that they need to control these so they don't get out of hand. And because they are the property owners, they're legally obligated to do so.
Are noxious weeds something that has been introduced into our environment and wasn't sort of part of the natural native community?
Yes, they're all non-native and either purposely introduced as an ornamental or they were accidentally introduced in agriculture, or they were brought in as a potential crop and found that they were poisonous or especially aggressive in an environment that didn't have any native predators or diseases that would keep it in check.
So, Don, I had to go looking, and I found the state of Utah noxious weed list, and I see that they have class 1A, 1B, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is prohibited. The only one I know on that list is Russian olive, and I'm familiar with that because I have to take it out of my yard on a regular basis. But there were a couple under class 3 that we're responsible to contain these. One of them is field bindweed, which I often call morning glory, and the other one is the puncture vine or goat heads. Those things are everywhere. How do we contain them? I can't stop the field bindweed. I have tried for 20 years, and it just is more persistent than I am.
So both of those weeds have such an established population that we're not going to get rid of them. But the state put them on there that if they are especially harmful in areas, they can affect control. And so the puncture vine, the easiest way to get rid of it is a heavy mulch layer or pull it as it tries to come up and before it goes to flower. And it is one that if you don't do that and let it go to seed, some of the seed can last over 50 years in the soil.
That's terrible.
What do we have up here in the northern part of the state that a lot of us might observe or see and maybe not appreciate that it's got some of these noxious weed qualities?
The Phragmites is one of the bigger ones. It is in riparian areas where you see drainage ponds on the side of I-15 and along Utah Lake and the Great Salt Lake. It's one that has taken over a lot of habitat. It uses a lot of water, and it becomes a fire hazard if it dries out. So that's one. And then bindweed that we previously mentioned is the other really bad weed. It is just really hard to control, especially in flower beds and areas where you have other desirable plants.
So I am wondering if you have a recommendation for a resource where people can see pictures, because I can read names and it doesn't really mean anything to me unless I've already done battle with that particular weed. Is there a place that is easy for our listeners to find pictures of these things?
There isn't one centralized, but many states' weeds departments and extension services have put together fact sheets on many of these weeds. And so if you do an internet search of, say, viper bug loss, words are a little hard today, or field bindweed, plenty of information will come up.
Including pictures, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, including pictures.
I get the sense, Tom, that what we're saying here, what this law is intended to do, is just to keep a lid on it. I mean, some of those weeds are here to stay, at least if they don't take over the yards, and people are even on a home-to-home basis, just pulling them up and keeping them out of their particular yard, that's going to keep a lid on this. Isn't that sort of the intent of the act?
Yes, it is. And it gives the government some regulatory teeth to keep these under control. And where we have state land or federal land, then the state works with those agencies for control. Now, a lot of times the county weed departments, if they have funding and the situation's right, will cost share with a property owner to help them eliminate the weeds. And that's always good to ask about.
All right. Thank you so much for helping us with that. I feel like I have to go home and weed my garden beds.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at those because I think they're a dearth of them in our area.
That was Tan Bettis, co-host of KSL Greenhouse Garden Show and horticulturist, and talking about noxious weeds in the state of Utah. So, coming up on Inside Sources. We are going to return to Middle Earth with a brand new 8,200-piece Lego set of Minas Tirith. We'll have more on that, plus my fun facts and Greg's closing arguments. I love this Lego set. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Can you hear it? That's the sound of nature waking up in Box Elder County. Spring has sprung, and the first visitors are already here. From grebes to geese, Bear River Bird Refuge is alive with the sound of thousands of wings. And it's not just the birds who are invited. There's plenty for you to enjoy. Experience the world-class minerals at Crystal Hot Springs. Stand on the spot where the railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation at Golden Spike National Historic Park. Check out the jaw-dropping murals up and down Tremonton's charming Main Street. The list goes on and on. Hungry? From fine dining to classic comfort food, Box Elder County has something that's sure to hit the spot. In Box Elder County, the air is fresher, the sky is wider, and spring is in full bloom. Come wake up your senses and plan your spring escape at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in partnership with the Utah Office of Tourism.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business.
Utah Valley University's Applied Artificial Intelligence Institute serves as a living lab for AI, supporting AI literacy, developing workforce-aligned curricula, and acting as a central resource for AI initiatives across campus and Utah's higher education system. Senior Director of the Applied AI Institute, Tyler Small, joins us with more.
So we know that AI can be incredibly disruptive in business, education, and in work in general. So at UVU, we created an AI transformation strategy with specific measurements that will enable each faculty member and each student and staff to transform themselves and integrate AI into their learning and work. And a big part of this is that we're building ways for faculty to be able to use AI to provide even more work experiences for their students. And it's not always possible to find an industry partner and manage a working relationship for students in their class projects. But while AI is making those industry connections easier, it's also providing ways to build simulations of relevant work scenarios in seconds instead of hours. And so in either case, the students get to practice their skills on real work problems.
UVU's Applied AI Institute is making a difference in Utah by advancing AI education, preparing students with in-demand skills, and supporting workforce needs. Learn more at uvu.edu. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources.
It makes me happy. Look, you know that I'm a big Lord of the Rings movie fan, and I have a daughter who is also a Lord of the Rings fan, but she's a big Lego fan. Well, maybe this is the perfect thing for her because it is a Minas Tirith Lego set. It's one of Lego's biggest builds ever, and this thing is like 8,200 pieces.
Okay, so Minas Tirith.
Yep.
I can see it. It's written down here. What is it?
It's the White City, and it's really an important part of the storyline, right? Humans are there with this whole Gandalf and the ring. But anyway, this city is a place where they have a major battle and some really important scenes in the movies. You can recreate it, but it's not just recreating it. They actually include, it's the capital city of Gondor. They include some internal rooms that you can see. So, for example, you can see the Citadel, you can see the throne room. It does come with 10 little figurines, in case you're wondering, right? But I'm wondering how long it would take to build something that's 8,200. It's actually almost 8,300 pieces. I would guess a while.
I think that
right?
would be
guess a while.
I think that would be a really cool project. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they
I really do for a family.
So I don't love jigsaw puzzles, but I think I might really enjoy building a really large Lego set. What's interesting, I think about this one. So first of all, it's pretty pricey. It's $650. So we don't have any on that level, but it's the second largest build, second only to the Millennium Falcon from Star Trek.
Oh,
Star Wars. Oh my gosh. People are going to send me angry messages. Star Wars. Star Wars.
I would have to get the instruction because I've never seen the
They have
Minas
instructions.
Tirith.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to build. I'd end up building.
I've told you 100
sand
times
castle.
you
Right.
need to watch the movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they come with instructions. So my daughter that collects these Lego sets, I've gotten her some that are maybe $100, $150. Like they're kind of pricey. They're not $650, but they do come with a very explicit instruction booklet. This is where you start. Here's where you can find these 8 brown pieces, right? I mean, it's pretty detailed, but you can imagine, I mean, just looking at the pictures, very, very detailed. Of course, it's going to be with 8,300 pieces of Lego.
I actually think not that I would ever watch any of those shows, movies, whatever they are, that it would be fun next time the grandkids come to get something like that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
just
and
make it
build
a weekend project and build it.
Yeah. All right. I want to go on some fun facts for today. So today is May 12th, and it's National Mental Health Provider Appreciation Day. So all of May is National Mental Health Awareness Month, and today especially we're appreciating people who help provide that mental health support.
And that is so critical
It
in
is
both
critical.
of our professions. It's
Yeah.
just something that you can't ever discount at all.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that Utah's doing is making that profession more available, because there's different levels of mental health therapy and who can become a counselor. And Utah has expanded that in recent years. And so I know that there are new programs even down, for example, at UVU to allow mental health providers to get training. Okay, on this date in 1820, Florence Nightingale was born. So you know that she became a nurse.
Yes.
One of the first nurses in the profession.
The face of nursing in the early days.
So she was born on this day in 1820, so 106 years ago. In 1849, Matilda Cox was born. She was an ethnologist, a geologist, an explorer, and an activist, and she became the first president of the Women's Anthropological Society of America. But her work as an anthropologist and an ethnologist was focused on the Zuni in the southwestern United States. So Native American population Zuni.
Okay, I have to ask you a question. And if you can't answer it, I'm sorry that I'm asking you that. What's an ethnologist?
So, actually, I can't answer that because that was part of my PhD studies. So ethnology is really where you're immersed in a culture, right? So you're part of, like, if you're an ethnologist and you're studying, for example, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City, you're going to be more embedded in that culture, right? You're looking at that culture. An anthropologist, you're looking backwards, right?
Okay.
Who are the ancient people who did this? She was looking also at the current population at the time when she was
I
studying
thought it had
them.
something with ethics.
No.
Yeah, okay.
It's ethnology and not ethics. Yeah. So on this day in 1900, this is another woman who broke a glass ceiling. Her name is Mildred McAfee. She was born on this day in 1900. She became the first director of the Waves in the United States Navy. Do you remember what Waves stands for? They were women accepted for volunteer emergency service in World War II.
Oh, yeah.
Clever, right? There were Waves. She was the first woman commissioned in the U.S. Naval Reserve. She was the first woman to receive the Navy Distinguished Service Medal. She was the first woman to serve on the boards of New York Life Insurance, the New York Public Library, and RCA. She also served as president of Wellesley College, and she was a U.S. delegate to the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization and co-chair of President JFK's Women's Committee for Civil Rights.
Waves.
I mean,
yeah, good for her.
She really
had
broke
it
a
all.
glass
She
ceiling.
Yeah, shattered it.
Speaking of women's rights, in 1928 on this day, Benito Mussolini ended women's rights in Italy.
Yeah.
So thanks, Mussolini.
How?
He declared it like he made laws preventing women from being able to do things in the country.
Like vote and things like that.
Yeah.
On property things.
Yep. In 1932 on this day, the body of baby Charles Lindbergh's baby was found less than a mile from his home. Remember, that was really one of the first kidnapping for ransom cases.
Right, it was horrible.
And the baby was killed, but this was the day that they found the baby. And then on this day in 1978, which I think is funny and also eyebrow-raising, the U.S. Commerce Department decided that hurricane names would no longer only be female. They would now be male and female. Because before that, they were only female. And then one final political note. It was on this day in 2021, the U.S. Republicans in the House voted to demote Liz Cheney from party leadership because she had publicly rebuked Donald Trump for lies about the 2020 election.
We don't hear much about her anymore.
We've heard some.
I mean, she's still around, and hopefully she's still active. She's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. These people that stick around,
spoke out,
speak out, and get themselves in trouble a little bit. Well, when we started the show, before we started the show, you mentioned something to me, and that was that Guardsman Pass is opening. And Guardsman Pass, for those that don't know, is a pass that gets you from Big Cottonwood Canyon. If you're going up toward Brighton, it sort of veers off to the left there between Solitude and Brighton, and you can go all the way into Summit County and even into Wasatch County. It used to be a dirt road. It was very hard to navigate. I've been on it on my bicycle numerous times. Now you can ride a car on it. It's paved for the most part, maybe all of it. It was open, and people thought, well, this is great, but it's not great, and I'll tell you why. Not that it's not open. I mean, it's beautiful that it's open, but it shouldn't be open on May 12th. We shouldn't have snow gone on Guardsman Path on May 12th. We shouldn't have El Nino, a super El Nino.
Right.
Because what's happening is this, people, and we had it this year at Powder Mountain and every other ski resort in the state. At a record low or near record low snowpack, a warmest winter ever. And guess what? Next year will be the warmest winter ever. And in 2034, when we have the Olympics, we may have no snow. Let's just be honest about it. And I'm not trying to, preach climate change or whatever, but I do think there are things going on that we need to start thinking about. And not the least of which is how we're going to continue to get water in the Great Salt Lake, because if that goes down much further, we're in serious trouble. If Lake Powell drains, we're in serious trouble. I mean, we need to start conserving water. We need to recognize that, and I'm going to get some horrible texts here later, but that not that the end is near, because it's not. I mean, mankind will survive. We'll figure something out. We always do. But at what cost? At what suffering are we going to have? Maybe we do without lawns in a couple of years. Maybe we start doing things differently in terms of water usage and getting different kinds of systems to help us take showers and things like that. But man, it's not going to get better. I can just tell you it's not going to get better. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that. When we come back after the break, we will break away to Maria Shilaos, and for the first time in years, she's going to talk about homelessness in Utah appearing to be improving. New numbers are out today that show the number of people on the street is finally coming down. Maria Shilaos will have more on that next. It's coming up with Utah's Noon News.
News Radio, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and Utah's Noon News starts now. I'm Maria Shilaos, KSL's top story. After one of Utah's driest winters in recent memory, Salt Lake County leaders are getting a sobering update today on what that could mean for water supplies this summer. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live with details. Eric?
Maria, water experts are expected to brief the Salt Lake County Mayor's Office and County Council this afternoon on below-average snowpack, early runoff, and how local providers are already responding. Ahead of today's meeting, Salt Lake City reactivated part of its water shortage plan, while Midvale is asking residents to limit outdoor watering to 2 days a week.